Agreed upon by South Park fans that the first 3 seasons don't hold up to the rest of the show. Of course, there will always be people who disagree with that, but even the show's creators themselves claim this era of South Park to be subpar. There is, however, one episode that stands out from the rest.
Hello.
A diamond in the rough.
Happy Saturday.
If you will. One episode that was so good, it made it into the top 15 fan favorite
Here
list,
to do some
and
grinding,
is also the only episode from this
hang
era
out,
to crack
watch some
IMDb's
TV.
top 35 episodes. You can't have South Park without a little bit of controversy, so you will probably not be surprised to hear that this episode was banned by an entire country. Today, we'll be exploring South Park Season 3 episode, Chin Pokemon.
And then
What
I've saved
made
just
this
about
episode
enough
so good?
lobsters
Why
that I
exactly
need.
was it banned in Japan? Is
Gonna go fight
Pokemon a
something
Japanese
soon.
government plan to brainwash kids?
The American government lies to you. Join the fight for Japanese supremacy of the world.
Okay, probably not, but it is a hilarious concept. All jokes aside, this episode came out at the perfect time, right in the middle of the era known as Pokemania. Okay, what the hell is Pokemania? As we know, Japan has a knack for creating legendary media, usually in the form of animation and video games. However, Pokemon was something different, something truly special. When Pokemon was exported to the rest of the world in 1998, it immediately became a global phenomenon. Pokemania is considered the peak years of its explosion in popularity, running from 1998 until around the end of 2002. Your boy here got to experience the latter years of this. The first video game I ever owned was Pokemon Yellow. Yes, I am old enough
Mine
to
was
remember
blue.
that you couldn't even play it at night unless you had one of these bad boys. This was the peak of gaming, lads. And yeah, I was basically the South Park kids during this time, completely brainwashed by this franchise.
I
Which
love
makes me
Pokemon,
feel
still do.
qualified to analyze this episode. Before we get started, do me a solid and check if you're subscribed. I always thought YouTubers were BSing about the 90% of people aren't subscribed analytic, but then I started making videos, and I realized it's true. Anyways, let's get
Well,
started.
look up the psychology on it.
The episode begins with Eric Cartman watching TV and eating a light 2,000 calorie snack.
Yeah, Kenny, these are my spicy hot Louisiana baked chicken tenders.
He's watching the new Japanese TV show titled Chin Pokemon. We obviously know this is a parody of Pokemon, but what exactly does this translate to? Well, Chinpoko in Japanese means penis, and mon is short for monsters. So it's basically penis monsters as opposed to pocket monsters, which was the original name of the franchise. It wasn't until it was exported that they made it Pokemon for the rest of the world. When you watch South Park, you'll notice Japanese a lot more than other languages, and it's usually correct Japanese as well. Sometimes it's been changed for comedic effect, but the accuracy compared to other languages is because Trey Parker actually double majored in film and Japanese, while Matt's majors were film and mathematics, because Trey needed...
Because we needed you to do the bookkeeping.
Not long after the show ends, he sees an ad for Chinpoko
Majored in
dolls.
Japanese,
He's
though,
able
that's
to
cool.
easily manipulate his mom to take him to the store to buy some.
But, Mom, I have to get a Pokemon doll before everybody else does, because then I'll be cute.
His urgency to get the
But,
dolls
man.
is so that he can be the first one at school to show off his new toys. But upon arriving there, Cartman is angered to see that everyone else also saw the ad and even got there before him. Stan shows off his new collection, including the Chinpokomon shoe. This might seem like the most exaggerated joke ever about how sometimes Game Freak can lack creativity with Pokemon.
Yeah.
But over the years, they have had ideas about as ridiculous as a shoe. From ice cream cones, cogwheels,
Keys.
keychains.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all real Pokemon.
Left key.
When
What
their
about the
moms
garbage?
ask about the
There's a garbage
origins
bag?
of Pokemon, they're told it's some new big thing from Japan. He goes on to say that the Japanese really know how to market to children. I tried to find some old Japanese commercials on Pokemon, and the earliest one I found from the original game's release was...
モンスター全部で
What?
150種類
strange, to say the least. It didn't really feel like a kid's commercial at all. But then again, I'm not a marketing expert,
Ooh,
so we'll leave it
Nani-kun.
at that.
Yeah,
The
trying
next
to get
day
all
at
his
the bus
little,
stop, Cartman tries to get Kenny
waifu
to trade
boys
his
early.
Penguin doll, claiming that it's his favorite. You know, trading is actually a massive part of the success of Pokemon. you couldn't even fully complete a Pokemon game unless you were able to trade, as the versions locked certain Pokemon from ever being found, basically forcing you to either have friends who played or to buy both copies of a generation. Oh yeah, and if you wanted to trade, you also had to buy an attachment that doesn't come with the game.
Yeah.
Get owned, kid. This is the most
Dude.
blatantly obvious form of
Old school.
manipulation that Game Freak still uses today, as there is always going to be people who buy both versions. Think about how much extra money they have made by getting people to buy both copies of basically the same game. Oh yeah, and on top of that, let's
This guy did
repackage
it.
the same game a year later, add maybe 10% more content, and call it something shinier.
Yeah.
These are things I didn't pay much attention to.
Yellow?
As a kid,
You started
but
with
as an
yellow, you
adult,
said. That's
realize
basically
they
yellow. I
milked
mean,
every possible
Pikachu
dollar
followed
they
you in
could.
that. It was
the most
different.
genius thing ever, actually.
Yeah.
If you want to steal money from kids.
Kyle arrives at the bus stop to show off his sweet new cyborg Bill doll. The boys give him a hard time and laugh, saying that it's all about Chinpokomon now. He then rushes home to beg his parents for money to buy Chinpokomon when his dad gives him a pretty good speech about how he shouldn't blindly follow fads.
In fact, you can make an even stronger statement by saying to your peers, I'm not going to be a part of this fad.
Kyle explains how in the real world, it doesn't work like that.
In the real world, I can either get a Chimpokemon, or I can be the only kid without one, which singles me out and causes the other kids to make fun of me and kick my ass.
Yeah, Kyle can be pretty smart sometimes. After buying his new doll, the store owner says he doesn't
funny.
understand what kids see in these things, and Kyle agrees, showing that he really only cares about keeping with the fads to fit in. Before the store owner leaves, he starts messing with one of the toys, and he hears,
Down with America and destroy the capitalist American government.
oh yeah, now we're getting to some plot.
I
Kyle
forget
is
this
eager
episode.
to show off his new toy, but the boys seem to no longer care because they're now into the Chinpokomon video games, showing that there are even fads within a fad. The video game they're playing has an interesting moment.
I've got to buy them all, so first I'd better go to Hawaii and visit Pearl Harbor.
So yeah, this is reason number one on why Japan had this episode banned.
Oh
This
my
has
god.
to be some kind of plot to take Pearl Harbor again, because you know they want it.
The toy store owner takes the Chinpokomon doll
Wild.
to headquarters to complain about its anti-American sayings. And we meet for the first time Emperor Hirohito. Example number 2 of why this episode was banned. They decided to use the name of the famous emperor who ruled from 1926 until his death in 1989.
Oh no.
You must have very big
Oh
penis.
no.
What if
Disgrace
I told
on
you
you?
the penis-sized joke
Disgrace
was
on your
inspired
cow?
by a real-life experience that Matt and Trey had?
And we were out at a bar one night, and he was saying, "Oh, American penis so big," and we were just like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And he was like, "My penis is smooth."
Another cool thing about this is that Hirohito was voiced by Junichi
I love how his
Nishimura,
head
a
voice.
college roommate of Trey Parker's who actually was learning English while Trey was learning Japanese. Trey also had him narrate one of his first animated shorts that he made in college called American History, thinking that someone with a strong Japanese accent talking about American history was pretty funny.
Thank you for stopping by with your gargantuan penis. Dame. Dame da.
He realizes people are onto his plan, and we get shown that Chinpokomon toys are indeed chipped. We are then revealed with his true intentions.
The time has come. We will take Pearl Harbor.
The next scene shows Randy and Sharon
So random.
watching Chinpokomon, trying to decide if it's appropriate for children to watch. You know, I actually had a friend in elementary school whose parents didn't let him play or watch Pokemon because it challenged the powers of God. I'm amazed he
What?
didn't grow up to become a serial killer with parents like that. The conclusion they come to is that
Yeah,
Well, it's
what?
not like it's vulgar or violent.
No, but it's incredibly stupid, and that can be worse on a child's mind than any vulgarity or violence.
Kyle shows up with his new controller for the Chinpokomon games. But of course, the boys have moved on from that. Oh yeah, Kenny had a seizure playing the game. That's why his eyes look like that. That reminds me, it's likely that this is inspired by a real-life event that actually happened.
Yeah, there's an
In
episode.
1997, Japan was airing a new episode of the Pokemon anime. 20 minutes into the episode, Pikachu stops missiles with his Thunderbolt attack, resulting in an explosion that rapidly flashes red and blue lights. A lot of viewers reported blurred vision, headaches, dizziness, nausea. Some of them even had seizures. Over 600 Japanese children were taken to hospitals. Many of them recovered on the way though. But anyways,
That
they
crazy?
go on to say that the new cool thing
Ooh.
is the Chinpokomon
Dwarf.
camp that is being held to teach trainers how to defeat the evil power.
Putting on a special camp to show all the Chimpoko masters how to destroy the evil power.
Me up
Their
with my
parents have a
sustenance.
meeting to
Here we go.
decide if they're going to let their kids attend this Chinpokomon camp. The conclusion they come to is the more they forbid their kids to play Chinpokomon, the more it'll make them want to do it. So they decide to just let Chinpokomon run its course, with the idea that Chinpokomon is just a fad. This is actually how Matt and Trey felt, and something they were completely wrong about. In the real world, Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time.
Ever.
It's funny because it's not even remotely just for kids
Crazy,
anymore.
right?
Pokemon has an audience of pretty much all ages.
They
Sure,
have
the
Pikachu
explosion
Day
of
over in
popularity
Japan. Like,
was
he's like their
95%
mascot
children and
almost.
preteens back in the day, but those kids have grown up,
Like a
and
state
plenty
bird.
of them still love Pokemon, which I think is pretty sick. I mean, we have full-grown adults making a living off of playing Pokemon now. That's no shade, by the way. If I knew this was possible at age 8, I would have definitely pursued this career path.
I wish.
The kids show up to the Chinpokomon camp very excited, and they are finally asked the question, what is the evil power?
The evil power is the United States government.
Ah.
We then get a propaganda speech from Hirohito that none of the kids even understand. But the brainwashing has begun.
Ah.
It's me, Sanchi!
We get a hilarious scene of the kids in the classroom all speaking Japanese and acting like anime characters.
Ooh, Gasen-san sabushi da na.
What did he say?
He said, Gasen-san sabushi da na.
Not so fun fact, this is the last episode where Mary Kay Bergman voiced Wendy Testaburger. She tragically passed away a little over a week after this episode aired. Rest in peace to a legend. The adults of South Park have had enough and go to see the mayor.
I tell you, Mayor, these Japanese are trying to change our American children somehow.
The mayor actually brought Hirohito and his right hand to explain themselves.
You Americans have such humongous bulbous penis.
Well, I guess that's true.
Except, instead of explaining things, they once again use their flattery to compliment the American penis size.
You see, Japanese penis so small.
So small.
Huh. Maybe I'm Japanese. The mayor comes up with an idea, which is to try and get the kids
Like, that's
hooked
the
on
real
new
reason why
fads
they
so
banned
will
it.
Stop being so obsessed with Chinpokomon. They're taken to a market research lab to be tested
wasted
on new
almost
toys that they
1,000
might
gold
like.
just
Fun
traveling.
fact, this
Crazy.
is the first time in South Park that Butters is shown with the 4 main boys all at once. He was pretty much just a background character in season 1, 2, and most of season 3. He was introduced to
Joker,
Butters
what's
just
up?
3 episodes before this one. And you
Yeah,
can
it's
tell
so
they try to
unique.
sneak him in more and more throughout season 3 and 4 until he eventually becomes a full-blown
It's actually-
main
it's been
character.
updated. I don't know
Anyways,
if you've,
the boys are shown
ever
some
heard of
commercials to
RuneScape.
see what they respond well to. For some reason, early South Park
It has, like,
loved to
multiple
use
versions, like, WoW
real-world
now.
footage
This
for
is the oldest
commercials.
version.
I'd like to give you a reason why, but not even Matt or Trey know.
It doesn't even
can't
really
even see
matter
my
to the
face.
show, and the fact that we would spend a bunch
See
of
that
time
emotion.
going out and doing film shoots for for that little bit of a joke that you could animate. I don't know why we would do that.
I'm glad they did, though, because Alabama Man is pretty cool. The children are then seen parading around
Got
town
built-in
in a
TV.
military-like formation. Sharon attempts to intervene, but they respond once
Hey.
more with their flattery.
A very large penis.
I love how throughout this episode, whenever they say this, the men are just so happy. The women, however, see right through it, and Sharon calls him out.
He doesn't really have a small penis. Oh,
As they're marching away, Sharon has another idea. But first, we see Bill Clinton talking about his schlong.
I spoke with Mr. Hirohito this morning, and he assured me that I have a very large penis.
Just as all the kids are about to be sent on a mission to bomb Pearl Harbor, their parents arrive and start pretending to like Chinpokomon. And if parents begin to find something cool, it probably means it's no longer cool anymore.
Yep.
come on, Eric. Let's try to battle your rooster with my Donkeytron.
No, that's okay, man.
They all start walking away, except for Kyle, who once again is late to the
The
party.
show's so
and
smart
Stan gives
sometimes,
him
I swear.
a gay little speech about how it's no longer cool to follow fads.
Yeah, but if I stop now, I'd just be going with the group again. So to be an
Oh
individual,
yeah,
I
hands
have to
down,
bomb
Joker.
Pearl
I
Harbor.
agree.
See ya.
That's why I've
Stan
just
tries
been.
again, and this time
I've
Kyle
had
is
such
too
like a
confused to
hankering
make a decision,
to.
so he just stops, and then Kenny dies.
Hopefully the
Something
sound
I
levels
hadn't
are
mentioned
right. You
yet
have to let
was
me know.
Nintendo's reaction to this episode. They were pissed.
I'm trying to
Mostly
find something
because
just
of
to
the name
grind,
Chin Pokemon
and instead of looking
relating to
for a new
genitals,
game,
they
I'm like, yeah, let me
obviously
play
didn't want their
RuneScape. I used to
franchise
play
tied
this
to
like
something like that, but legally they
I
could
don't
do
even know,
absolutely nothing about it,
2003,
which makes it even funnier.
and then
There's
on
also
like this
no
is a game I always
specific
come back to
reason
every couple
given
years.
for why Japan had this episode pulled,
It's just
but
like an
I think we can make
MMORPG.
obvious assumptions, such as the constant mentioning of Pearl Harbor, making fun of an iconic
Getting some
emperor.
lobsters
but let's
so
be
I can go
honest
fight
here,
some
we all know the real
trolls,
reason they
get
had
their
this
big
episode
bones,
pulled.
Nothing. We are very
and
simple people.
practice my
with
prayer
very
level.
small penis.
The idea
That
for
made
this
any
episode
sense.
pretty much came from the fact that kids at the time were
But
seemingly
it's like one of those.
brainwashed by Pokemon.
It was a
That
free-to-play
and
game when I
thought
was
if
young.
Japan really wanted to, they could take over the world with this thing. It's personally one of my favorite episodes from the early seasons. I'm one of those people who don't think South Park really got off the ground until about season 4, and then it finally entered the golden years from season 5 until about 13. Don't get me wrong, I still love all of South Park. I just don't have that deep drive of nostalgia for it like other people who really love the first 3 seasons. Let me know what you guys think of this episode or your
Yeah,
experiences.
see, I'm in a
with
weird
Pokemon.
camp.
Don't
The
forget
first
to
3
drop a
seasons
like
I could
if you
care
made it
less
to this
about
point,
because
and
to
I'll
me they
see
were
you
just like
guys
fart
in
and
the
curse
next video.
jokes. And then
Sometimes a
yeah,
licensed game
I'm gonna
comes
say
out
around
and it's
season
awesome.
7.
Look at Pepsi
Actually,
Man. You play as Pepsi Man, and you're just running through.
South Park
on
got
the
really
PlayStation
smart.
1, and it's a great old time. Is this a wild concept? Absolutely. But what happens when a big company partners up with a game development studio and they make something just completely awful or weird that it even exists? We're not talking about like cool little gems like Doritos Crash Course that then became awful with Doritos Crash Course 2. I don't know, maybe we should have talked about Doritos Crash Course 2. What a terrible experience that was. But what about something like a Skittles fantasy game, a Hooters video game? I mean, look at all of the fast food restaurants that even had video games.
I remember the
Taco Bell,
Burger King video
McDonald's,
games.
Domino's
I used to have Sneak
Pizza.
King for
Burger
my
King made
Xbox.
Xbox and Xbox 360 games
Yeah,
that you could actually
right there.
buy at the restaurant. This is a deep rabbit hole, and we're looking for just the things that
You
we're
could get them
taking
through
way
like
too
a Mighty
far.
Kids
I'll be
meal or
honest,
something
when it
like
comes to
that.
licensed games, I usually set the bar kind of low.
I think there was
already,
McDonald's
but
games at
Taco
some
Bell
point,
released
too.
a game in 2000 for DOS. It's like a 3D action adventure dungeon crawling type game, and honestly, for 2000, this game, visually speaking, looks like it was maybe made in 1993, not 2000. But whatever. I mean, is the game good? That's what's important. So
On a
here's the
floppy
deal. This isn't
disk.
Temple Run. We're playing as
That's
Baja
wild.
Bill, who has to go through this temple of some lost jungle civilization. There's like snakes, scorpions, you gotta watch out for. And the only thing that can replenish your health is the glorious Taco Bell food. That's the food item in the game. That's the connection to Taco Bell. I mean, I guess we get to throw sauce packets, so that's something. But hey, you know what? The game was free, included in kids' meals, which was really cool. In 2000, DOS was already considered outdated though, so that was a little weird. The game's short, the controls aren't the best, but it was a free game, and I'm sure some people have nostalgia for it. It's a weird premise that this even exists, but hey, it was something.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
There was a game of all time. Somebody made it. Somebody had to put work into that.
One of the oldest examples of a licensed game that like very obviously is just advertising something was the game Tapper from 1984. You play as a bartender and you have to serve customers liquor.
I remember Fallout had a version of that called Nuka Tapper.
Get tips. And some people might say, oh my god, I spilled everything all over my desk. And some people might say that this game has a subtle Budweiser advertisement in it. I don't know if you guys see it. I think to the surprise of the publishers, this game actually wasn't the worst. So they decided to do something different with it because they didn't want to like be labeled as a game that's advertising alcohol to minors. They rebranded the game and called it Root Beer Tapper, which would then be developed and released in arcades.
Super iconic game
This one's
these days.
interesting though because later on the game would get at-home releases of the same game,
What?
and some of those would actually have the Mountain Dew logo.
Yeah,
but
I've never
other
seen that.
versions of the game
Or the
would have
Pepsi.
the Pepsi logo instead.
I've always known it to be
Wild
root beer,
times.
and then
We got
there's
more
like
to
a
talk
Fallout
about, but before we
variant.
get into it, guess what, guys? We actually have a sponsor. Mundly by Pearson. What's a better way to kick off 2025 than to learn a brand new language? Matter of fact, last year in April, I decided I was going to try to learn
Black
Japanese.
Jam, what's
It's
up?
a pretty difficult language, and I'm really actually happy with the progress
Yeah,
that
speaking
I've
of
made.
quests,
One of the
actually, I
biggest
need to
things
do
I've
more.
learned through this process is that
Get my rune
consistency
plate.
is key. And
I'll have to
Mundly
sit
is
down
making
one
it super
day,
easy
not
for you to
today,
turn a
but
new
I'll have to
language
sit down
learning
one day and do
resolution into
these.
a reality with a huge
Also some
96%
new
off
quests
lifetime
since
access
I've played
during their
last.
exclusive New Year sale. All you have to do is go to mundly.app/rocket sloth and you get 41 possible languages at your fingertips for just a one-time payment, no subscription, just learning, including difficult languages like Japanese, but there's other languages too, like Catalan or Finnish. They're trusted by 125 million users.
Just hoping all
Luckily,
these
even has, like, a
lobsters
chatbot
don't
that
burn
provides
on
real
me.
conversations with speech recognition, so you can perfect your pronunciation and get
Actually, Black
real-time
Jam, do you know a
feedback.
good-
Plus, lessons are created with fluent speakers to ensure its authenticity. They got a hands-free mode that is great.
Do you know a like good free-to-play like bank and oven spot? I want to cook these on an oven, but I want to do it quick. I want to say Falador has a pretty close one, but it's still kind of a little bit of a run.
So you can perfect your pronunciation and get real-time feedback.
I'm getting ready to
lessons are
cook all
created
these.
with fluent speakers to ensure
And then
its
go fight some
authenticity.
giants.
They got a hands-free mode that is great if you're like working out, cooking, or like commuting. It's like having a personal language coach in your pocket, but you gotta move quick because the sale ends January 31st, and your chance to grab lifetime access for just 4% of the regular price is like a pretty great opportunity. So click on the link in the description. Or
Yeah, that's why I'm so shoddy on it.
And start your
And like, I feel like everybody has a town which they lived in. Mine was always Falador.
Get back into this topic.
And like, I'm thinking of a spot I can do it, but things have
has
changed
always
and
been
it's
really
still a
weird
little
to me.
bit of a
I honestly
run.
don't know how this became so popular. I don't know. They just popped some eyes on these guys, gave them some arms and legs, and next thing you know, people are drawing fan art of the characters online. Nonetheless, there's no denying the fact that the whole M&M marketing campaign was successful.
Anybody ever play
and
any
in
advert
2000,
games?
There was a video game for the PC called M&M's The Lost Formulas. This was a
Actually,
Mac
the
and
M&Ms,
PC
my
game
sister
back
had
in the day.
a-
And I'm sure some people have a soft spot for
I don't know
this
if,
game
I guess
because
it's
of
an ad game
nostalgia
because
of
it's
this game
M&Ms. My
being,
sister
you know,
used to have a
probably
Game Boy
game that
Advance
children
game.
played back in the day, and there was some effort put into the game. I mean, it's a licensed game, but they did something here. It's in 3D, so they had that going for it for 2000. That's, you know, a bar that was matched. And the gameplay is varied. I mean, you could be kart racing in one level, doing like a platforming, running in another level. The controls are not very good, kind of slippery and all over the place. How can I say it's kind of a Crash Bandicoot clone without saying it's a Crash Bandicoot clone? Probably
Yeah,
that.
see, like,
Even
of
had
course,
a
yeah,
special
that's
math
perfect.
Mode, which could help players solve math
But I'm-
problems.
yeah, I'm
You had
free to
do
play in
them.
it.
If this mode didn't make it clear to you that this game was for kids, you know.
So I
their
wanna
math-
say there's
their
one
math
in
laws.
Falador,
The
maybe
soundtrack
across
is a little
from
bit
the
annoying, but
West
I will
Bank?
give them a little bit of credit. They had
I
these
can't remember.
cutscenes that were like pre-rendered, and
It
I
probably
think
wouldn't
as a
hurt to
kid,
go look
that's
around,
kind of
too. I
cool.
need to
A
get
lot of games
more
in the
savvy with
2000s
the
didn't
maps
really
again.
embrace this too much. I mean, some did, but this was
For
kind of impressive.
Edgeville?
This was PC gaming at its peak. If this was the only game that you had back in the day, and for a game developed by
I don't know,
Simon
look,
and
look.
Schuster, the book publishing company, I'm a little impressed that the game is what it is. But this was just the starting point for M&Ms in video games. Okay, there was M&M's Mini Madness for the Game Boy Color, which came out in 2000. You see, in the late 90s,
Oh, that was it.
M&M's released M&M Minis, and they were like M&M's but smaller, often sold in like a little tube that you could grab at like a little like end cap at a store. And with that, they launched a crazy marketing campaign that I remember being pretty commonplace throughout the 2000s. There was a ton of these things. They were chaotic, they were a mess, and they have a Game Boy game. It was a pretty basic platforming game, and there was like some puzzles, and there's different M&M characters you play as. It was pretty generic.
Edgeville,
The game
okay.
didn't really review
Maybe
too
that's
well.
it then.
IGN said it
I
was
remember-
barely
I remember
competent
having, like,
and too
image
easy. But, I
flashbacks
mean, what did you expect? It's an M&M
of when I
game.
used
In
to do it.
2001, there was M&M's Shell
But I can't
Shock
remember
for
what
the
place it was in.
PlayStation
Yeah, I think
1,
it's
which
Edgeville.
honestly was pretty much just like the other 3D M&M's game for PC and Mac, but this time on the PlayStation, and a couple of little changes. There are a few other M&M games released over the years. There was M&M Kart Racing for the Wii. It got a 23%. In 2008, there was M&M's Adventure, and this was like a, you know, big moment for M&M's. It was like a reboot of the whole video game franchise here, and there's different playable characters.
It's like a
and
whole
the green
platformer.
M&M has a racket.
Crazy.
I don't know. There was boss fights in the game, and if you actually manage to play through the game, there's like levels based on different holidays for whatever reason. The game wasn't received very well either. And then on the Wii, there was M&M's Beach Party,
way.
which honestly, for an M&M game, surprisingly okay. It's just a bunch of party games with an M&M theme to it. But like, hey, you can't knock Skee Ball or like a game where you throw these rings or whatever, and it doesn't make any sense. It's fine. More competent than other M&M games, and I think we get the gist of the whole M&M
Yeah, so I have a
video
bunch of
game
bait I have to
franchise.
burn.
Now, Now, for the sake of this video, we
in
wanted
my
to talk
bank. I
about
should
both
do
games that were like.
But I'm just like, I'm
commissioned to
at a
be
point
made
now where
as
I'm
a
tired of
promotional
waiting on
piece,
this.
and
I want to
games
just
that
fight
would
something.
obtain a license to a franchise.
Gonna
and
go
then
fight some
on
moss
to make a
giants.
game. Now, one that's just an interesting concept.
Go
even though
down
it's
to
not
the
worst
depths of
game
the sewer.
ever, was Darkened Sky, which is essentially
Because when I signed on, I was like,
don't
why's my
know,
prayer
a
so low?
third-person action adventure game. You swing like a staff around or something.
Don't you need high
and
prayer
it's all
for a
tied
mission
together
or like a
with
quest?
Skittles.
I
Essentially, you
remember.
play as this character named Sky. It's like a fantasy world, and she can perform magic, but only by using Skittles candies to give her energy for her magic powers. It's just a wild concept of a game. What's actually interesting, though, is that when the publisher
I think
Simon
it's
and Schuster
protections, that's
again
why.
wanted to make a video game, they actually
least
pitched the game as an M&M's
protections.
game, but they were like, we have this backup plan for a different idea, Skittles instead, and they ended up actually landing the license to both M&M's and Skittles. We know how the M&M's stuff went down, but yeah, for
There's even more stuff.
Skittles, this was a big W. I really can't imagine that this is like a marketing plan does much for the brand, but who knows? Maybe they know something that I didn't. I mean, the game is okay-ish. It was like a 7 out of 10 game, really a 6 out of 10 game, but still, you guys get what I'm saying. Okay, do you remember the TV show Pimp My Ride?
Yes, of course. With Exhibit.
Yeah, with Exhibit. So Exhibit would show up. He would like find
Yeah,
some
Hyper
trashy
remembers.
person's car.
That's
Not
good, but
trashy
there's
person.
way better
sorry.
ashes and stuff.
Trashy car owned by a person, and they would pimp the car out. And what's really
get
interesting
the
is this
shift
show, like,
drop
they wouldn't
function
fix
in one
any
click.
like mechanical problems with the cars. They would just overdo the cosmetics of the car. And the show was wild.
Actually, I'm not
There was
familiar
some
with the shift
crazy
drop
things
mechanic,
that
but I am
they
on
did with
Rune Light.
cars that weren't practical, and they decided to make a game based off of it. And I actually got this game for my brother's birthday as a gift. I convinced my mom to
You
buy
saved
it for
prayer
him.
for
He
members?
played it for like a day and then never played it again.
Why are you saying
No,
you
the
can
game
just
was
shoot it
wild.
up
You
faster?
would drive around and like you would have to like figure out what to do for your customers or your client. Not customers, the clients for the show. I don't remember much, but I remember like there was one where she was like a fashion designer, so he like put a runway in the back of the
What should
car
I
or something,
fight for
or
a
like
level
wardrobe in the back of the
56?
car.
Melee? That's what I want to train. I was figuring, I don't know if I can take. What level are ice giants?
Oh my god, I can't believe it! X, I love you so much.
Some weird stuff. Some
Lost
things
Giants
that
are
would
like
never
40
be practical in
something.
real life. So the game was just like bizarre in itself, just like the show. I don't think
could
there was a
go
lot
try
of
to fight
replayability,
lesser
but it definitely
demons,
was a game
but
that existed.
So
I don't know
you
how
said
long
you
I'll
drive
last.
around. Is that majority of the gameplay? Do you even pimp the cars?
Yeah, you get to pimp the cars out. It's like you drive around for a bit, you get points or money, and then you spend the money on customizing the car. But like the whole point is to like really find what their interests are and customize the car based on what they're interested in.
Like get to know
Maybe
them
I'll
on
go
a
mining
deep
stuff.
personal level.
I'm in a
Yeah,
mood
like-
to
like-
farm.
like show the
I don't know.
gameplay.
Weird.
Man, this job is getting
Go get my mining and smithing out.
So, I hear you work at a radio station, but how can your radio be this bad?
Actually, that's new. I put that
Retired to the countryside, chop some wood.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. Your bruiser was black and blue when we picked it up, but no longer. Take a look at your new ride.
Hit my ride game.
So I hear you miss a meal sometimes.
Kinda. I eat, but I just tend to snack and stuff between jobs.
All right, so check it out. In order to take care of all of that and tie it all together, we got you a mini fridge and a microwave oven in your car.
What? Oh my god.
Oh my god, no way.
Hooters is famous for two things. The boobs and the hot wings. But what kind of is infamous is the licensed game Hooters Road Trip, published by Ubisoft. Yes.
Wow.
That Ubisoft that makes Assassin's
Of
Creed
no-
and
of
stuff
all
like that
people.
nowadays. They used to make actual bangers. I mean, this wasn't a banger. That's why it's on this list. 99% of the game is just a generic racing game that is actually a repackage from another game called Free Will in USA that was released on PC. So they took all the assets and then slapped on a couple of like videos in between races of like Hooter girls saying like something like, "You're pretty good, keep it up."
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Georgia. How you doing,
God.
sugar?
That's about it. That's how we got Hooters Road Trip.
Like an
It's
arcade
apparently
game.
regularly put on those like top 50 worst games of all time lists in like different magazines. So it definitely is a all-time classic.
I think we should sit down and play it just to make sure that's a bad game.
Sure.
Now, there's a lot of licensed games that have existed over the years. Some of them, there's not much to say. I mean, there was a Kool-Aid Man game way back in the day. Why would they make this? I don't know. But one game that I recently
Wilderness
discovered,
Altar.
never knew it existed, and to find
I'm
out
not
it's like
familiar.
a 3D
Can you
game
just-
was even crazier to
What do you
me.
mean the
I wanted
Wilderness
to
Altar?
ask Luke what his opinion
You can get
was
XP
on
from it?
just the premise alone, because this isn't a game that you would normally just like think of even existing.
Damn.
So Luke, have you
Yeah,
seen
isn't it?
the
That's
Die
why
Hard
I've always made
movies
sure to log
with
in.
Bruce
If
Willis?
you don't log in for
I
so
kinda knew the
long,
answer
don't
to
they
that
just
one already.
delete your
So,
account or
fun
something?
fact, in the early 90s, there was
Remember
a game
that
series
was always a
called
fear
Die Hard
mad long ago.
Trilogy. Okay, I mean, crazy enough concept. What
Aw,
I
damn.
think, and you know what,
I
whatever,
appreciate it,
there's
though.
movie tie-in games all the time. It's nothing, out of the ordinary. Still crazy, but whatever. What I did not expect to see happen was in 2000, a PlayStation game released, is also on Windows, called Die Hard Trilogy 2 Viva Las Vegas.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
there's a sequel
what?
to the trilogy.
That is exactly what I was wondering when I saw this. I was like, Die Hard Trilogy 2? So
Yeah,
essentially,
what?
if I'm understanding it correctly, it's just like a fictitious Die Hard 4 before like they actually did Die Hard 4 and 5 as movies. So they just call it Die Hard Trilogy 2 because they had already published Die Hard Trilogy 1. It's a
Yeah, I was
different
gonna say, I have
Some
that.
team members on the first team might have been there. There was a pretty big gap in years too between the releases. Like we're talking 1996 to 2000. So it was like a 4-year gap.
For the 90s, that's a long
Weird.
development cycle.
That's a very long development cycle for Die Hard to Die Hard Trilogy 2 Viva Las
They're
Vegas.
trying to give me a
In
fire.
none of the movies, even the ones they made later, I don't think they go to Vegas ever.
No, that's what I'm saying. This is pretty much like a Die Hard 4 before Die Hard 4.
So it's just a fanfic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess the way that they tried to angle it was in the first Die Hard trilogy, there was like 3 distinct gameplay styles. And this game also has 3 distinct gameplay styles. And depending on what mission you're on is like what type of gameplay you're doing. But it's not really that different from like what other video games are already
doggy.
doing. It was like sometimes you're doing
Sorry.
action adventure,
That
sometimes
was
you're doing
loud.
something called sharpshooting, and sometimes you're doing extreme driving. The thing is, the game did not review well. Most of them were like, "Wow, it's cool that there's 3 different things, but none of them are executed well." So it's just. I don't know. Apparently, the game had some interesting things going on, like you could use a jackhammer as a weapon. It also supported the PlayStation mouse, light guns, and steering wheels for specific parts of the game. That's about it.
Forgot about the PlayStation mouse.
Yeah, I knew there was an N64 mouse. Didn't think about the PlayStation mouse.
You know, if there would have been a Die Hard Trilogy 3, do you think they would have released it on PlayStation 2 and made a
damn.
part about with the iToy?
You know, I had to just go and check because I was like, did they ever make a Die Hard? Maybe
Yeah, I never
2
knew that.
years
That's
later,
crazy.
There was another Die Hard game, but this one was called Die Hard Vendetta, and it takes place after the first 3 Die Hard movies. I don't know
Especially
if
if I'm
it's connected.
low, I
It's
bet
a
that would
different studio again,
skyrocket it.
Same publisher, but it doesn't seem to acknowledge the Viva Las Vegas
And that's
one,
only
but
members, you were
I
saying?
don't know. I don't know what the video game Die Hard lore is like, but in case you're curious, the game also did not score well. So
Warpath Jurassic Park is a dinosaur fighting game released in 1999 for the PlayStation
I
1.
remember that one.
This game tried to answer the age-old question, what if dinosaurs fought like Mortal Kombat characters? And the answer was kind of like mixed reviews and even a 5 out of 10 by IGN. So, that's pretty low score for IGN.
I'm sorry, did you say the age-old question?
Yeah.
As to who would win? Wait, what? Can you just rephrase that? I'm trying to catch up.
What if dinosaurs fought like Mortal Kombat characters?
I mean, it's a cool concept.
It is a cool concept, but sadly the execution was completely butchered. Honestly, like this was like done. There's like other games where you fight as dinosaurs, like in Mortal Kombat style, and they were done better. But this one just took the Jurassic Park IP, which there isn't any like dinosaurs tied to the Jurassic Park IP, right? Like if you see a T-Rex, like a generic T-Rex, you're
It's
not
the
like
Jurassic
oh,
Park
this is Jurassic
T-Rex.
Park. You're just like this is just an animal from back in the day, couple 100 years ago or something.
Remember
They
I
just
rented that
slapped
from
on
Blockbuster
some,
once?
Jurassic Park like logos and stuff on the menus, and other than that, there wasn't anything interesting about this. The gameplay was very one-sided. Apparently, you pick the T-Rex and you can beat anyone else because they didn't really balance it, and the T-Rex was just so overpowered.
Everybody just wants to be the T-Rex, man.
It's just
That's what
because the
happened.
T-Rex is the best dinosaur.
Yes, but also it's something about like when you play the game, it's like the T-Rex just has a bigger range. When you like whip the tail and then like a small raptor.
Just like real dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I don't
no
know,
real
T-Rexes
reason
are
to
the
go
best.
there. Yeah,
That's
you
all I'm
can't
trying to say.
teleport with
For a
it.
realistic game.
Yeah, hyper realistic, dude. Look at the gameplay. And I don't know, this is a really random use of the Jurassic Park IP. And the reviews, kind of all were negative. And
Yeah, I'll bet it
mostly,
made money,
not
though.
very fond
That's
of
the
game.
real
The
question.
Xbox
I'll
Live
bet
Arcade
everybody
Place
bought
had
that.
some bangers, but it also had this game called Yaris, which was a free game that was just made to promote the Toyota Yaris. Basically designed as an interactive Toyota Yaris ad, but they added some sci-fi weapons and stuff into the mix, which
Come on,
that's
one more.
pretty weird.
You got it.
You don't even really race.
You got it.
So the whole game is like like half on-rail shooter, and there's like this robotic arm coming out of the hood of your Yaris, and you shoot down like enemies like aliens and flying saucers and stuff like that. And the whole game is like set in these tubes, so you're like these miniature cars, and it kind of reminded me of, you ever seen those special stages in Sonic the Hedgehog 2? You remember those?
Yeah, where you like run on the thing.
Yeah, and it's basically, it just looks like that, but it only
There
has
we
one
go.
stage, which isn't
Level
that bad
50.
because it was a free game, I guess, but it was still really lackluster.
Yeah, I
the
think
gameplay
I'll
was very boring and
finish this
not
batch.
that
Maybe I'll do a
snappy,
couple
which is
rounds
kinda
of
weird for a racing game,
Swordfish, or
obviously.
at least try to
But
get them.
The game featured all three
Probably
models
gonna
of the
trickle in
Toyota
so slow.
Yaris and the real-world color names. So if this game really convinced you to go to the dealership and buy a Toyota Yaris in 2008, you can tell them exactly what model and exactly what factory color you want, you know? So, great marketing, guys. And I remember mentioning this game to Elijah a couple of days ago, and he actually reminded me of another game that did a similar concept, but on the N64. And that game was called Beetle Adventure Racing. It was the same concept.
Beetle
like
Adventure
interactive
Racing?
ad, where you
There's probably
just
so many
race in
car
Volkswagen
games.
Beetles, and it was just made to
Cars
promote
and video
Volkswagen
games
Beetles.
just kinda
But
go
that game is
together.
actually good. Like, the controls are good. You know, it's a solid experience. There's variety. There's different cars. And I guess that's how you do a car ad, right, in video game form. So then I got WWE Crush Hour on my list. What do you expect from a game called WWE
Never
Crush
heard of this
Hour?
one.
Crush Hour?
Yeah, Crush Hour.
Probably not what the game actually is, because in my head I think of like a bunch of WWE wrestlers like sitting around drinking Orange Crush.
Honestly, that would have been closer to what they do at WWE. But this
like a
is
fun game that way.
vehicular combat game, like Twisted Metal, but with WWE wrestlers. It has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just your favorite wrestlers in like pickup trucks ramming into each other. And the whole story is like Vince McMahon has like monopolized all television networks. So WWE is like the only form of entertainment. And the wrestlers have like to do all the different shows, like racing or vehicular combat shows. I don't know. It's like a weird story.
Do you think
That actually
means in
sounds like
that
a really
universe
fun,
there's, like,
kooky
also,
story.
Like, wrestlers doing like television soap operas and stuff like
If
that?
I was a
Yes, I
kid.
think so, which we have in our universe, kind of. So.
Wait, really?
I mean, they do
No
like
one had fun with the story.
The reality TV show, the traumatized reality TV show. That's kind of. It's like keeping up with the Kardashians, but with like wrestling people.
But that's reality television. This isn't fictionalized soaps.
Yeah, sure, but it's pretty cool.
Days of Our Lives.
Reality television's real, right?
Yeah, it's real. So, anyways, this was like during a weird time where WWE tried to do like different like games that weren't wrestling related, because they also made a game for the Game Boy called WWF Betrayal, which is like a Contra type game, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, which doesn't have anything to do with wrestling either. But at least in that one you can throw some punches, which I guess is closer
These cinematics.
to what wrestlers do.
Look at that
than driving
jog.
cars. I don't know.
Dun, dun,
Just a
dun,
really
dun,
weird
dun, dun.
game, WWE Crush Hour.
There was another game from a couple of years earlier that was surprisingly not bad either. We talked about Taco Bell already, but Chex did a game called Chex Quest. And essentially it was just a Doom overhaul clone, but kind of a cool game. You could get it in your Chex cereal. Because why
that's
not?
so cool.
And
See,
it
I
ended
wish
up
I kept
spawning some
stuff like that.
sequels that were available
Like my
online,
Sneak
I think.
King
But,
game. I don't
mean,
know
it
what
wasn't
I
a
did
bad
with
game.
it.
That's something.
But I think it was like supposed to be
You never know what you
like
have
family
till it's
friendly because
gone.
it comes with
You,
a
like,
cereal,
you
right?
appreciate
So,
it
like,
later on. It's
Obviously,
weird.
Doom was very controversial with its violence.
It would have been fine if they made Chex Quest violent, I think.
Nah, dude. Nah, we
He
wouldn't
said,
be on
"Nah,
Fox News."
dude."
Oh no. The one that we definitely have to talk about, like we can't make the video without at least mentioning them, but everybody knows about them. The fast food games that would release by McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's. Burger King was probably the most infamous situation of that because they released Sneak King, which came out for the Xbox and Xbox 360. Interesting box for the game.
There was a
right?
couple
Because
of them.
They didn't want to print two different boxes. They just did the Xbox 360 logo, but without the 360 on it. But you could get the game for $5. So even if the game wasn't good, it was a game for $5. It was a brilliant idea. And I think it actually ended up being one of the best-selling games for the Xbox original. You play as the terrifying-looking king sneaking around. I don't.
That's
think there's a
all it
whole lot of depth
was.
to that game. Domino's and McDonald's
It's just
did some
sneaking
stuff
around and
earlier
giving people
on,
burgers. That
mostly
was
the
it.
side-scrolling
There was
things.
no-
There was the Noid game from Domino's, which was
wait, I have to go
a
back.
whole crazy arc. Wasn't there some guy who like held up a Domino's store because he thought that the Noid was based on him or talking to him or something? I forgot all about that. There's definitely something there, guys.
Yeah, that was a hostage situation related to the Noid in Georgia.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. I think it ended It resolved itself. The guy turned himself in.
Yeah, the Noid was charged with.
The Noid was charged.
Yeah, that's what it says on Wikipedia. Noid was charged with.
Oh, the guy's name was Noid, though. I thought you were talking about the Noid, like the mascot.
I mean, that's a joke I was making. Yeah.
Hold on.
I mean, that's why I thought it was based off him. His name was Kenneth Lamar Noid.
Wasn't he like forcing the Domino's employees they had hostage to make him pizzas?
Oh yeah, he says, yeah, make him 2 pizzas. Do you think he got charged with the theft of 2 pizzas as well?
I'm sure it came
Old
into
school
restitution.
bond.
Also, this whole incident apparently is
13 mil, 13.7 mil.
He still shows up from time to time, though.
Right, but they tuned him down.
Yeah, definitely.
He's pretty annoying, though.
No. He's a national treasure.
13.727327.
It's on site.
Just so we don't miss any other good, interesting licensed games for this video.
That's a lot of money,
Trump's
but
Real Estate Tycoon is a game that exists.
impossible.
Surprisingly, it doesn't have the lowest ratings in the world, but it's a crazy
Just gotta,
concept
I mean, with
for a
this
game
account
that,
though,
we
I wish
have
I was
to
doing
talk
that with
about
my
it.
other account. Like I said,
games
because
were
I can make
all
money
the
way
buzz in the late
easier.
90s and early 2000s, and Donald
Spent
Trump's
my
name
whole
being
life
slapped
working
on one
up that
was
other
definitely
account.
a twist
This
I didn't
one's
see
like
coming,
half-assed.
Especially when doing research.
Gotta
on this
get this
video.
one money
It's
making.
it's like a typical real estate tycoon type game. What would you?
That's why I used to
expect
just
from a
go straight
tycoon
logs,
game?
but I don't
Zoo
know how
Tycoon, you
lucrative
have
that is
animal
anymore.
Displays, Roller Coaster
wait,
Tycoon,
what am I
roller
doing?
coasters. Real Estate Tycoon just doesn't have the same
A harpoon, bro. Oh, I don't have the harpoon.
attachment
I'm
unless
a
you
dummy.
just like the business side of things. But nonetheless, you do the real
That
estate
too, I'm
stuff.
used to
You
RuneScape
actually
3
are
having
kind of an
everything on my
employee
belt
of Donald
already.
Trump through most of the game. As you do well, you get promoted, and the goal is to like meet Donald Trump on the top floor of his.
Whoa.
I guess. And then after you reach the top.
What? Donald Trump real estate.
Just so we don't miss any other good, interesting licensed games for this video, Donald Trump's Real Estate Tycoon is a game that exists. Surprisingly, it doesn't have the lowest ratings in the world, but it's a crazy concept for a game.
Well, it looks like a
that, I mean,
SimCity.
we have to talk about it. I mean, tycoon games were all over the buzz in the late 90s and early 2000s, and Donald Trump's name being slapped on one was definitely a twist I didn't see coming. Especially when doing research on this video. It's like a typical real estate tycoon type game. What would you expect from a tycoon game? The Zoo Tycoon, you got like the animal displays. Roller Coaster Tycoon, you got roller coasters. Real Estate Tycoon
It's
just doesn't
4
have
mil.
the same.
Damn, dude. Yeah, I think you're right though, because I bought one bond before on my other account. Unless RuneScape 3 ones are cheaper. I think I spent around 7-8 mil
as you do
for
well,
a
you get
bond one
promoted, and the
time.
goal is to like meet Donald Trump on the top floor.
Yeah, maybe it's just like that. They just keep going up.
Building, I guess. And then
Or it
after
says
you reach the
1.2
top floor,
ALK.
you
Is
then
that
go into a
premium
competition against
currency, I
Donald
guess?
Trump, and you have to beat him to like win the game. The game scored high, so yeah, just a weird game that exists. Thought we should include it.
Would you say it's a fair observation that Star Wars is like kind of popular, or part of what makes it popular is like that there's a lot of action, like in space or with the lightsaber battles, right? I feel like that's a big part of what is interesting about Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So like, how would you feel if I told you there was an official Star Wars chess game?
Ooh, sounds kind of fun.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a video game?
It is a video game released for
Oh, that's
the
so
DOS
cool, though.
and
It looks so
Sega
good.
CD in 1993, and it was kind of based off something else called like Battle Chess or something, like a different franchise.
Yeah, I
and
love
they
the art
licensed out
style.
Star
It's so
Wars and
cool.
then did like a version of it. All these chess pieces have like their own animations, and they have like executions. Like, instead
Wow.
of just removing the chess piece, it's like very violent executions.
Wait,
That's
this
so
sounds
cool.
great.
Yes, but I don't know. It was kind of bad. I don't know. It didn't. I mean, I don't know. It was on the MS-DOS back in the day.
How do you make
It's
a
probably
bad
slow as
chess
shit.
I don't know. People said that like it was either too easy or too hard. Like the AI was really bad.
Oh, I guess I didn't think about like what you're playing against.
It was either like just a pushover or
What does it
impossible to
mean?
beat.
What
It
is
was more,
ALK?
like,
Is it
in
premium
between, no
currency?
variety. And I don't know. It was just kind of weird though to like have these violent.
But especially, yeah, if you can
animations in a
earn
chess
it,
game, though.
why
No, I'm
not?
down for it. I think this.
I
is
think
a-
that's so
this is
awesome
probably
they
a
even
good
give you
game
the
if AI
option.
was better.
Yeah, then let me tell you,
Yeah,
I have
13
another
mil.
couple executions written down. Darth Vader
have a lot
just
of work to do.
executes Yoda with his lightsaber. You can get that,
Yeah,
like just, or you can get C-3PO gunned down, like he's a war criminal.
Oh.
I do have.
Like, I used to just sell
another
U-logs
pretty
as a
weird
free
one,
person like
really
crazy.
bizarre. You don't know who Russell Krant is? I don't know either. It's like
U-logs
a
go
British
for
TV
237 now,
astrologer,
then.
but, like,
I used to sell them for
horoscopes and stuff like
250,
that. I actually want to send
275.
you the cover, and because I saw the cover and I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I'm gonna send it to you real quick.
Oh my god. The hell is going on
And
here?
I looked into it, and someone licensed out this guy's likeness and astrology, like, I don't know, knowledge, and made a Nintendo DS game. And the whole game is basically just like pages of like reading about astrology. Then there's a very short exam and maybe a mini game at the end. And then you're, I guess, on the same level as Russell Krant, and you can predict people's horoscope or something like that. It's basically just a web page with a little quiz on your Nintendo DS that you probably had to pay like $40, $50, $60 for back in the day.
Okay, I have an idea on how we could just waste a bunch of money.
Oh, how?
We should buy this game and then get it PSA graded.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, let's see. What does Russell Krant's astrology go for on eBay? $4.
It would take 57.8 KU logs.
Let's say 20.
That's
to
still
get a
lot,
bond.
but I mean, manageable.
That's just U logs.
You know, it's a bargain.
If I sold them at
what you get.
237, I probably could up the ante. It would just take a minute to sell them.
Oh, it's too late now.
It is what it is.
You should just commit to it now. So
That's
I thought
a lot
there
of
was
logs.
kind of this specific thing I needed to explain, and I didn't know how to best explain it for the video, so I ended up making a slideshow, and I wanted to present the slideshow if that's all right.
All right.
Okay, so I
How
made the
much lobsters
slideshow.
go for? This does take longer to get though.
It is by me. It is Elijah's mini presentation on licensing games that were bad. I've included a picture of me. It was the only picture I had on my computer. It is before the weight loss.
Who's
this
that,
was,
Elijah?
This was
These are
right
still more lucrative.
before Sandy and I's wedding. My photographer took this picture as our engagement photo. Wasn't a flattering angle, I'll tell you that for sure.
I mean,
but it's okay. I mean,
I've seen worse.
It was more important that I had a picture of me so you knew who made the presentation. Okay.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get into this.
How fast I can get coal.
What?
This isn't supposed to be here.
Who's Hank?
I don't know. Used a template from Google Slides, and it I was using this template and I forgot to delete the slide, I guess.
Also, what's this guy doing? Did he like fall? Is he like getting up from tripping?
Let's just go to the next slide. Okay. Games that were bad, but they wanted to make money anyways. And this is my first point here. As you can see from the PowerPoint, we have
There was a lost video game. Didn't even know
tie-ins
that.
like didn't need to exist, but they were definitely just trying to make money. There was a lost video game for the Xbox 360.
Yeah, what?
Prison Break: The Conspiracy was a game, which is wild. They even made a Fight Club game. Now, all
I knew
three of
about
these
that.
games actually have something in common. They're not good. I mean, there's not much more to say. I was surprised they made a Fight Club game, especially one that ended up being not good. The big takeaway is that during the mid to late 2000s, this was a common thing. Like, if there was a TV show or a movie that was successful, it was getting a game. And it didn't matter if it was good anyways.
We're getting
as
back
you
to
can
those
see,
times
this
too.
is the reasons why.
Getting bad.
A lot of the time they
Hey,
would
now.
make these types of games. They could do a short turnaround time on the games a lot of the time, I assume, because the games were so bad. They could make money. Dumb kids would buy the games, especially if it was like a Disney property or something
Well,
like
that's
that.
the point. Yeah, they just look at the cover.
Source material could have been good. Like Lost was a great TV show. Prison Break was exciting, especially in the first season before things just got out of hand.
Okay, just the first season. I want to say that. Like,
I had fun with the second season, but then it just gets to become this loop of just things always escalating and never having a resolution. GameStop. And I don't know. These are my reasons. Okay, next slide.
He could have made it any slower.
As you can see, they stopped for a while after
This little presentation.
a peak of maybe Wii shovelware games just really just being everywhere. I think people caught on that sometimes these tie-in things aren't that good, and I think sales started to reflect that after a while. And we actually did see a period of time where tie-ins that were just cheap cash grabs did slow down. They didn't completely stop, but they slowed down a little bit, and then they would do their own thing. And this kind of was around 2013-ish. So instead of doing a Fast and Furious movie game, they would do a spin-off, like Fast and Furious Showdown. You still get Vin Diesel jumping out
An
of a
alt
moving
story.
vehicle,
I have
but,
played that Survival Instinct.
It
It
was
actually
its
had
own
good
story,
ideas, but it was
right?
just
this
too
isn't
wooden and
just
clunky.
a adaptation of the source material. It's its own thing.
Oh,
they did The
excuse me.
Walking Dead Survival Instinct. It was Daryl Dixon and Merle Dixon before
Prior.
season 1 of The Walking Dead. And Neither of these games were good. They were actually dog shit. But what I'm trying to say is they changed how they were approaching doing this dog shit. Okay, then.
Oh, whoa, whoa.
Well, it's because the games used to actually spoil the movie before it came out. It was always tough.
That they started doing around this time, especially with motion control being a thing. We had the Michael Jackson The Experience game.
What was that Wii thing where you could step up on it? Wii Fit?
I don't know
I think
why.
that's what it's called.
I'm not trying to make light of it. I just think it's a
My
crazy
sister used to have it.
thing looking back now. Jillian Michaels, she was that woman that screamed at people on The Biggest Loser. She got a Kinect game called Fitness Adventure. Harry Potter for Kinect.
Wait, did that pop up?
And there was a TV show called Hole in the Wall based on like a Japanese television show, I think. And they had to like fit in this hole in the wall or they'd fall in the water. They made a Kinect game on that. And I actually bought it. Loved it. It was so much fun for the 2 times I actually used my Kinect. Never played it again though. But it was like the one silver lining that came out of the Kinect era.
Yeah, I mean, they had stuff like this on the iToy, right? Like similar concept where you hold like a pose.
It wasn't as technologically advanced as the Kinect, dude. The Kinect had like the IR sensor, dude. The heat motion. Man. But don't worry, they came back and they started doing. Oh
yeah, dude.
I hit it too many times. Okay, I hit it too many times. I hit too many times. Okay, we're seeing an influx of these weird spin-off things coming back a bit.
I've heard about the first 2. I was a sucker into buying the Avatar game, thinking it was going to be fun.
Crazy that game even came out.
So
when it
broken,
did,
dude.
Like 10 years after The Walking Dead aired, like the seasons that it's based on, because it's based on the first like 3 seasons of the show.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's
it's
crazy.
The prison on the cover.
Yeah. It's based on the first 3 or 4 seasons of the show, right? I think it's 4. And like it's like an alternate timeline thing, but like why is it out now? And the game's not good either. Lord of the Rings Gollum came out. They did Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance, and then I didn't have enough room on the slideshow, but they also had that King Kong game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So I mean, we can.
Oh yeah,
that one was also not good. But what about advertisement games? They still exist. They exist. Doritos Crash Course, like we said at the beginning of the video, great example.
Hell,
of that.
I love you, Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders had a game.
Dating simulator.
It's a dating sim, okay. But we see more instead of like standalone commission games. It's a lot easier for a brand just to do a crossover with the more popular games. So like Call of Duty, Fortnite, those games do a lot of brand crossovers nowadays. Doesn't surprise me. Fortnite's starting to do it more and more. But like we've seen this type of stuff exist, brand product placement exist in games for a long time. Maybe a topic for another video. But just
Edgefield teleport. I thought there was. Yeah, there's no.
The end.
The end.
For watching. What'd you think?
Run we must.
I'm applauding. I don't think Discord is picking it up. But,
it was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was.
I worked on that for like 2 hours today.
Dude, honestly,
Legend of Korra. Were they on? What system were they on? I wouldn't mind looking into them. My girlfriend loves the whole series, everything about Avatar.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So perfect,
That's why we bought it, because we heard it was going to be 2-player. We were so excited to play the Avatar game like just together. And then it was such trash, and then even co-op, it was like broken in a way to where we couldn't even play.
Okay, so do you know who Cool Spot is?
No.
It is the mascot for 7-Up. I did not know 7-Up had a mascot, but apparently in the 90s, that was
back in the
thing.
day.
And this mascot got 2 licensed games. One of them called just Cool Spot, and the other one called Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood. And both of them were kind of like weird platformers. I think the first one, there's like different locations, like a beach and stuff. And then the second one, there's like Hollywood sets. Also, the second one is like a 2.5D platformer. It's like this sideways angle, top-down 2D. I don't know how to explain it. You'll see it on the gameplay. It's pretty weird. But I guess they really tried to push Cool Spot as the 7-Up mascot, and I don't think anyone remembers this character. I don't know. I thought maybe I just missed it, but like
call
it's
it nostalgia
not, like,
goggles or
Pepsi
something.
Man
But I love
or
the look
King
of games like
or
that.
Ronald, but
so much
I guess
detail,
they
but
tried
not.
to get it up there.
I really never knew this existed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a spot, like a dot with a red dot with arms. Wait,
416.
Is it like the hyphen in between 7?
Yeah, see, I got a bunch of feathers to
It's
burn.
like the red dot on the 7-Up logo.
Oh, like the hyphen.
Yeah, but he has arms and legs and sunglasses.
The classic Eminem mascot take. Okay, so I just had to talk about this, but this is something also.
Yeah, maybe
since we
I'll
talked
just
a little
burn
bit
them
about
here.
like games as a service that are
Gotta get rid of
also
them.
doing crossovers. Roblox, it just comes out of left field with some weird things going on. There is an official Walmart Roblox experience. It's like Walmart Land. I don't know why it's a thing. There's like fan games already where it's just like Walmart recreated, but there's like an official Walmart Land. And this isn't the only thing. There's been multiple Roblox crossovers with different brands where you can go and explore. And I don't know, like, are they trying to instill brand awareness at a young age? So like you grow up and you're like, man, I remember going to Walmart Land as a kid. Let's go to Walmart or something. I don't know. But I mean, I just had to talk about it. Like, it's crazy. Also, like, slightly unrelated, but like, have you seen the Sonic the Hedgehog game in Roblox? It's legitimately a full-on like Sonic the Hedgehog game just running in the Roblox engine. Probably had a massive budget.
Made by Sega?
I think it was made by Sega or approved by Sega. It is an official game, and it doesn't even look like a Roblox game. So it's like big companies are getting involved with Roblox.
Gone fishing.
Surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember
Speaking of which,
the
Fallout
Roblox
76
engine
gets an
actually in the
update
last
soon
couple of years
called
took off
Gone
insanely. I
Fishing.
remember playing like a Modern
Pretty
Warfare
clever.
2019 clone, and it actually was a good like,
Baiting?
Call of Duty clone, right? Like, it played well, the shooting was fine, but it was just Roblox. It's just really just weird. I wonder what it was called.
We used to play.
Oh, you have to
Phantom
pirate
Force.
it. I was wondering if it was like a PS2
Right,
game I
but
could go
they
buy or
definitely had
something.
that Roblox charm to it. That one felt like a
Need
Roblox
a fishing
game,
rod
and,
to bait these
Roblox
fish.
charm
Oh.
or the
Where do I
Roblox
bait
curse
fly
to it?
fish?
Let's just be nice and call the Roblox charm, you know? The next set of games I want to talk about, they just kind of fall into like the same category. First of all, we have the game Deadliest
Where do I
Catch
bait fly
Alaskan
fish?
Storm, and I could tell you what the game is like, but let me just show you this clip and I think you'll get the vibe.
Google it real quick.
So then there's also this game based on Duck Dynasty, which, you remember that show? It's like a bunch of dudes that like duck hunting.
Yeah, they had the long beards.
Old school
Right, they all have
RuneScape.
long beards, and you know that's kind of all that there is in the game too. They all have long beards, and then you kind of shoot some ducks, and you drive around in a boat sometimes. But this game actually came out on a lot of
old school
platforms. It came out on
RuneScape.
PC,
There's like a Reddit.
PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, all in 2014. And then it got a Nintendo 3DS port separately.
Are you saying it's not a Dynasty Warriors spinoff?
It is not a Dynasty Warriors spin-off. Also, remember when we talked about those like History Channel games, like the Civil War ones and stuff like that? Those were also crazy. But I guess they're not licensed games, but they were pretty interesting.
They just existed. There are a lot of licensed games that are not good. We know that. One
Take an
big
axe
thing that
and
always
do
was
fly
really interesting
fishing
to
at
me is that in the,
Barbarian
like,
Village.
mid to
There's a
late
bank there?
2000s, so many movies were getting
I need to go to
licensed
Edgeville
video
anyway, so
games,
yeah, let's
and
do that.
I don't know if it was more an attempt to just like capitalize on the advertising that the movies
I
are
wanna go check
getting,
out
or
Edgeville
if
for
it's
that
just
cook.
trying to like make a quick buck, or
Need to
if
cook.
it was even used to.
Ah, there you go.
promote
Thank
the
you. I'm
movie.
sorry,
It's
Black
a
Jam.
weird,
Thank you.
like, gray area
I
as to
should've
like,
just
where
looked
the
in the
money
chat.
goes, where the money comes from, and if it actually was effective or not. But
My bad.
every once in a while, there was an okay game that would release. You know, sure, we would see games like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Ant Bully as video games. Why? I don't know. I don't think that they
The
were
closest I can get is Fally.
a good idea. But sometimes, every once in a while, a banger would come out, and a
What
game
was
that
your
nobody
hometown?
talks about nowadays is
Like, did
the
you ever
Lion,
have
the
like
Witch, and the
a
Wardrobe video
specific
game based on
town
the
you would
Chronicles of
gravitate
Narnia?
towards or
Played that
live
game
out
as a
of?
kid.
Mine was always
Surprisingly
Falador.
not the worst game I've ever played. I haven't played the game since I was a kid, so it could just be an awful game, but I do remember having fun with that one. You could play as like the different kids. They had their own abilities. I remember a house getting bombed. Yeah, wild times. I'm sure someone else out there agrees with me that that game ended up not being as bad as you
Remember
would
the last
think.
time I
Now,
was at
that's not to say
Barbarian
like
Village?
every movie game was good, because they definitely were not. Golden Compass was a bad one, but there was still an occasional game that was good, like King Kong. I think the Percy Jackson King Kong game.
The Percy Jackson.
Was it not Percy
what?
Jackson? Was it Peter Jackson?
Peter Jackson, say Percy Jackson, King Kong.
Like
What?
The Lightnings, or is he Aquaman's son or something? I don't know.
Yeah, the Aquaman son movie.
With King
Olympus.
Kong.
No, Poseidon.
Yeah.
What was that movie? It's like such a blur. The Lightning.
Percy
No.
Jackson.
The
and
Lightning
the
Thief.
Olympians? No, that's a TV show.
Wow, we. Is
This
his
is one of
name
my favorite
Percy
book
Jackson
series.
though?
No, it's Peter Jackson, not Percy Jackson.
Wait, so there's no Percy Jackson that's existed ever? unrelated to King Kong.
I mean, there's a fictional character, Percy Jackson.
From the movie?
Yeah, from the movie Percy Jackson.
That's where I got the lines disconnected.
This reminds me of
I'm a dog.
the Insane Bolt incident.
You sleeping?
I didn't know.
Right, Fry?
I only had heard of some runner guy named.
You doing, Fry?
I thought his name was in the
You
Insane
sleeping?
Bolt.
You thought it was a soccer player.
You wake up
called
from a good
Insane
nap?
Bolt.
Yeah, that was what it was. My computer just made like a horn
Good
sound.
girl.
What?
Like, you know, like in those movies where like one person pulls out the like horn and like blows into it.
Like a bugle horn?
Not a bugle horn, but like an ivory horn or something that like makes a loud noise to declare war.
Oh, like a tusk? Like,
yeah, like something like that. Yeah,
What
I think
the
it just made
hell
that
are you
sound.
doing? So
It's
this
cold
one
here too, I always
is a
forget.
really old one from the 90s.
Been in the barbarian
SNES
village in
era,
so long.
And, based on a 90s television show, actually. You ever seen Home Improvement?
Yes.
It's off
Pretty
this river
fun
right
show.
here,
I
right?
remember watching
Yeah,
it
right
as a
there.
kid. I don't know. It was like about this guy
Oh,
in
and
this
Edgeville's
TV
the
show
bank.
and his
Okay.
family, I guess, and he's like a handyman or something.
Yeah, Tim
You know,
Allen.
Tim
I
Allen,
get
yeah,
it.
that's pretty it. But they released a game called Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit, which is all about Tim Allen fighting for his fucking life.
What does that even mean?
So the game starts off, and some like creature or something steals the tools, and then Tim Allen pulls out his nail gun, and then the whole game you fight dinosaurs, robots, mummies.
Yeah, but you just
there's
sit
no
here and cook what
explanation
they're
why. You
dropping.
just start fighting these like all these creatures Mega
Oh.
Man style, and you have different weapons. Like you have the nail gun, you have a blowtorch. Some levels you can dual wield chainsaws as Tim Allen, and there really is
That's just
no
so much snow.
explanation to why this is happening. It's just Tim Allen goes on a rampage against like the intergalactic forces. I don't know. It's like instead of the Avengers. When New York was attacked, Tim Allen showed up with some chainsaws.
I think they need to make this a movie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd see Tim Allen in it. What was this? His catchphrase was like ha ha ha. Oh, wait, that was
No, that wasn't it.
Yeah,
That wasn't
that's what I meant. So funny thing about this game though is they had this whole thing where they didn't put a manual or an in-game tutorial, and instead they had a sticker that just read "Real men don't need instructions,"
what that is.
and that also
Perfidina's?
would be the message when you boot up the game. And I think that's goddamn right.
I think that's a solid note there.
So about 2 months ago, we did a video on games they never wanted you to play, where we went over like
Where we
canceled
sucked. It's
video
like,
games.
yeah, you
and
can
one
roll
of
in
the
the-
parts
the
was
fish,
black,
but
and a lot
the
of people were
salmon are the few and
speculating
far
what
between.
happened. Some people thought the devices were broken. Some people thought it was a YouTube monetization issue, and some people just let us know that the part is black. And what really happened is I just fucked up and forgot to edit that part. So I wanted to put it here
Oh, the snow
because
from?
it is kind of
What
an
is the snow
advertisement
doing?
game, but it was cancelled. But the part is still good. So here it is in its full glory, edited this time.
So this next game is actually really, really weird that I had to get Luke in a call just specifically to go over my findings because it is incredibly fascinating. So I was doing research, right? And have you ever seen the commercials, like those raisin commercials from the 90s or so?
Yeah, it's like the dancing raisins, right? One of them has like an Elvis haircut, maybe sometimes.
Maybe. So, long story short, if either you don't know or the people watching this don't know, California Raisins had this like grape advertisement commercial that was like incredibly popular for some reason in the 80s and 90s. And long story short, they started out by using the characters, and then they would sing, and then they were like a boy band, and then they released like 4 albums with different record labels.
4 albums?
Yeah, like this was like a legitimate thing, and like they did a commercial with Michael Jackson.
Maybe that's what I remember. Yeah, maybe the Michael Jackson one. One of them has like a weird haircut or something.
Okay, but what's weird about it is that these things were like super popular.
They just
I guess,
needed one thing.
Or from a marketing standpoint, it was like doing really well. So, long story short, there were like spin-offs coming out of it. They had like a television series, like an animated series that had like a season before it was canceled. And during the late 80s, there was like a lot of merchandising going into the mascot characters of the raisins. I mean, they were also promoting like the raisin company, so you could like buy raisins and eat them. But for the most part, it was like becoming its own thing. Now, a couple of interesting things came from this, like a video game called the California Raisins Grape Escape, which ended up getting canceled, though the game was mostly finished. When I was looking into it, the reasoning for it getting canceled opened up a whole nother rabbit hole. So I'm just gonna like read this verbatim off of, I think, Wikipedia, right? The game was canceled due to the California raisins dwindling popularity because of the downfall sales of raisins in the late 1980s and early 1900s. Or sorry, early 1990s. So like it was like the raisin crash of the late 80s and 90s that caused this game to get canceled. Not anything related to the video game industry.
You know how that's the retail apocalypse? This was the raisin apocalypse.
Right. I don't know what happened, why people stopped buying raisins. Why? I mean, I don't know. Apparently, they were a really popular snack until they weren't. Even more interestingly, though, the game was probably at the point where it's finished because there were publications with the game, like the Game Player's Encyclopedia of Nintendo Games Volume 3 had hints for the game itself that never released in it. And there were flyers with upcoming Capcom NES games that also included this as like a listing for an upcoming game to look out for. But the lore is even more interesting because then I was like, well, why did the raisin market crash? Or why did like the Sun-Made and California raisin thing stop being this like ongoing thing? Or at least why did they slow down in the early 90s? The death of the raisin California.
Oh, okay. Sorry about your
town.
town.
Into effect like a decade after.
Yeah, I've never heard of that
was
one because I'm
canceled,
not. Yeah, I'm not.
When
versed
there
in
was
the
like some
members.
big internal controversy with the California
Son of the
Raisin
Elves Quest.
Advisory Board, which essentially had members of the grape farming industry.
Is that the town with like it's got houses and trees? I might know that one.
Wikipedia, from increased fees,
My
which
buddy
were driven
used
by
to be a heavy member player.
ever-escalating amount of money being spent on the California Raisins campaign.
Living with the
so
elves.
essentially, like farmers were feeling like the fees for like marketing that gets taken out of their profits was starting to become exponentially higher, and it was likely becoming exponentially higher because of the absurd amount of money that these California raisins were having for their production and commercials and existence altogether. So they were alleging straight up that these advertising campaigns were resulting in all of the profits from the campaign eventually funneling back to this main company.
Yeah, I didn't grab any of the lobbies.
Like a vicious cycle.
But yeah, I
of,
think
like,
this is it
more
right
money,
here.
More popularity and dwindling profits. So ultimately, the California Raisins were disbanded at that point.
Damn, did they broke up like NSYNC?
Yeah, with no real reunion in sight. So this game was like a mystery. It was kind of lost media for a while.
I don't know what my favorite quest is. I just always remember Dragon Slayer, I guess.
Would reappear
Is it the
with
big
a
green
beta cartridge
dragon?
of the game, which ended up being sold for about $1,000, and then it was dumped online.
So stuck in my ways of being a
resurrecting the
non-member
California
too. It's
Raisins
just like
grape escape back to life. The main purpose of the game, you'd be like playing as one of the raisins. You go through like side-scrolling level. There was various evil fruit and vegetables, and apparently they had stolen the music, the raisins music, and they had to go back and get it. Yeah, it was pretty basic, but it was an NES game. It was produced by Capcom, so I don't know. It'd be interesting if it would have actually come out, but we never got to see the official release. But eventually it did end up leaking, and you can play it nowadays. But I don't know. I was very impressed looking into this. The fact that the California Raisins released 4 albums. Some of their music charted.
Do you know
I
what
don't remember a trapdoor ever being here.
Number
The
one.
heck?
The US top 200, number 60.
Oh, it's actually pretty high out there.
I don't know why. But yeah, they did 4. They did 3 albums and a Christmas album, and that is the lore that I dove into for the California Raisins, who apparently haven't been seen since 2002. Also, mind you, like I didn't even go into all the other details because there was like a primetime television show called Meet the Raisins, which was like a mockumentary. There was, of course, the cartoon series we talked about, and there was like talks about possibly bringing them back.
Is there an option on Rune Light, or I have to go into Google and find
2015,
plugins?
it was
like
announced that there would be a
actual plugins?
live-action CGI reboot
I'm not
of the
signed into
Raisins,
Rune
but
Light,
I
that's
don't think
why.
anything ever came into fruition with that. The Wikipedia page seems pretty outdated in regards to that, and it's not like there's a lot of other sources talking about the California Raisins nowadays. So, you know.
Oh no, there's plugins.
Information out there seems pretty scarce. Well, I think we have a good list here. Huge thank you to our patrons for making these types of videos possible, and YouTube members. You people are the best.
We love you.
If you guys want to watch more videos like this, check out our channel. Subscribe if you're watching, especially on television. I know it's like 2 extra clicks, but helps our channel out since a lot of people watch us on like consoles, televisions, and whatnot more than on the computer. So that does go a long way, surprisingly. So thanks so much, guys. and we'll see you soon with another video. YouTube thinks you'll like this video. Cool.
Peace.
Nothing's popping up when I shift drop.
Hey folks, today is May 30th, 2025. As usual, my name
There's
is Jake
shift
Balbino. We're going to talk
remapping.
about all the video game news that has been going on this
That's
week.
about it. That's the only one that's popping up at the
Slower
moment.
week because the Nintendo Switch 2 launch is next week. Summer Game Fest announcements are next week, stuff like that. But there's still some stuff worth diving into. The first is kind of bummer news, another game cancellation. I feel like we don't go a day or a week without a game getting canceled. And this time it's a big one. EA Games has officially canceled the Black Panther game that was in the works. No, not the Rise of Hydra Marvel 1943.
There was a Black Panther? Yeah, I was going to say, I know the Rise of Hydra one.
No, there was another one in the works that was announced, and it was being made by newly formed studio under EA, Cliffhanger Games. Now, this project has officially been canceled, and that studio established for this game has also been shut down, along with a variety of other layoffs that EA has conducted. EA just seems to lay off a ton.
Love the game industry.
I think this potentially says a lot. I mean, what is it? Is it like
again why we're going back
the game wasn't going
to
to sell
old
enough?
games
Did they
because
like
new ones are
take
just
too
trash,
long?
man.
Miss the hype train that was around the first
What's
Black
going on
Panther
anymore?
movie? I don't know. It could be a bunch of other things. It could be game development costs spiraling out of control, and the companies just have to take less and less risks. Either way, it sucks. For me personally,
I gotta eat something.
I'm bummed because like I'm a comic book person, so I wanted a real genuine Black Panther game like this. And maybe they were going to give him the cape and make him look really cool. I don't know, but I honestly think it says a lot, like the state of AAA game development right now, right? If you have them, I mean, maybe the game project was a mess or something, right? Like we have no idea, but if you have EA, a heavyweight that deals with heavyweight IP or intellectual property, and they look at something as big as a Marvel superhero game and they go, no,
Burning
we
all
gotta
the
cancel
lobby.
this. Like what are we doing, man? That should be a home run. If you haven't been following, EA has been essentially contracted or agreed to work with Marvel to make 3 games. Of those 3 games, one is a mystery. It wasn't announced. We don't know what it is. The other one was this Black Panther game. And the third is the Iron Man game in the works with Motive Studio. That's been in the works for a while. EA said that is still going on, but that's it right now. EA did say that they are still going to be making
hold on, I'm just
3
gonna keep
games
skimming.
for
Maybe it's got
Marvel,
like a
that
name
there
or
we go.
something.
You know, Mr. Positive, I usually have like a but here, I don't know, just another canceled game, sucks ass. Switching gears in terms of new game announcements,
Entry
smaller
menu
event you may have
swapper.
missed, Tiny Build Connect. They're kind of like I call them kind of like a mid-level
feeling
to
that
indie
sounds like that
double A
could be it.
publisher. They had an event showing off a lot of stuff. They have
But
a
the doors
lot of
just
really
closed.
exciting titles. The
Those-
biggest one, we got new gameplay for Ferocious. Check this out. This is essentially like a open world survival first person shooter where it's you against dinosaurs.
Oh.
In a lot of ways, this looks like the Jurassic Park game people have been dreaming
Like
of
Far Cry
for
with
a long
dinosaurs?
time. Graphically, it looks really impressive. We've known about this game for quite some time, but this new trailer just makes it look really cool. I'm glad they're kind of amping this up. A lot of people have kind of billed this as like Tarkov with dinosaurs. I don't know how hardcore the survival elements are going to be, but at the very least, it's you dropped on this island that you can explore, and it's got like mercenaries going after you and dinosaurs. Again, I just think there's some potential for this one, so I'm keeping my eye on it. And with this announcement trailer and with Tiny Build Connect, they did announce that there are open playtests if you want to sign up and check out what's going on with this one. But in terms of other games they showed off, we have Sand, which we've known about for a while. This is kind of like a survival like multiplayer thing where everybody's on these giant walkers in the desert and you survive and build these things. Also, All Will Fall, which has been on my radar for a while as kind of like a fun city building thing, but this is floating on the ocean. This is getting an open beta in June.
Interesting.
Also, for you Hello Neighbor people, like it's not really my thing, but Hello Neighbor 3 has a new playable prototype that's out if you're just interested in the development of that game. But last but certainly not least, these are the people publishing Kingmakers, which has been one of my most anticipated games for a while. It's the one where you're just a guy dropped in a medieval battle and he's got like guns and like a car.
What?
Great idea for a game. It seems like it's getting bigger and bigger the more we see of it.
That does sound
And now
interesting.
we knew it was coming this year, hopefully, and now it's got an official early access release date of October 8th. Hey, next up, this video is brought to you by our longtime sponsor, Vessi. If you haven't heard, Vessi is the dependable, comfortable footwear that we've been recommending for a long time now. Not only do they have a bunch of different shapes, colors, and sizes for every type of person, every situation, but they're also 100% waterproof. Yes, I am serious, but no, it doesn't
All
feel
my
like
lobbies.
a waterproof
Really
shoe.
curious how
They're
much a
always
fire
dropping
would really
cool
help.
looks and stuff, like I said, but definitely consider for this spring.
I feel like I'd be getting the same
weekend.
results.
Got a fresh pair of the weekend
Who
right here,
knows?
and they are incredibly comfortable. They slip right on, nice and easy, so I keep them at my back door whenever I want to go play with the dog or do yard work or something like that. But the biggest thing is that they're so comfortable
Game
and they're
option.
really lightweight. These are like one of the lightest pairs of shoes I've ever worn, but you're still getting that waterproof functionality, meaning you have access to so much freedom, whether you're at work, outside, in the rain, in the mud, going on a hike, in the city, you're completely covered. You can step anywhere, step in anything, and be totally fine. It is a literal game changer.
So
Their
cool.
designs are cool and simple. They go with however you dress, really. And again, they just make life a little bit easier and more comfortable. So if you want to check them out, Vessi is waterproof, comfy, and ready for real life. Just click the
Goal
link in the
prevention?
description
I
down
didn't even know
below
that was an
or head
option.
to vessi.com/gameranks. When you're there, you get an instant 15% off your first purchase at checkout. Again, that's vessi.com/gameranks to grab your pair and get 15% off your first purchase. And big thanks to Vessi for sponsoring these videos. Now let's
Chocolate
get back to
cakes.
the news. Also this month, The Witcher 3 is celebrating its 10th anniversary. The Witcher 3 has been out for 10 years. I feel like I've replayed it 10 times at this point. It also just makes me realize how long I've been talking about games and doing this. I was doing this before The Witcher 3.
I don't even
which
know
is
what
crazy.
is
But
what is
yes,
shift dropping anyway.
10-year
if I know.
anniversary. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it, obviously. But
What is it? What
CD
I'm
Projekt
looking
Red did
for?
something
I'm
really
looking
cool.
just for
They
a
actually
title.
updated The Witcher 3. Yes,
What is its
The Witcher
function?
3 got a big update, which I think is very significant. It adds official
Oh, it
mod
stopped me.
support for the console versions. Yes, cross-platform mod support is coming to the console versions of The Witcher, and I think this is potentially really big. If you're a console player, I know there's probably a good chance that you've wanted mods for quite some time. It's the same thing with other like big RPGs on consoles. People are always hoping for mods. So here you have it. You're going to be able to get access to a bunch of incredible mods that are already on PC. I just think
Mods
this is
in The
a win.
Witcher, that's
From a
cool.
technical standpoint, I'm always impressed like how this stuff works. I can't even begin to imagine how it all goes down. But yeah, we're getting older. The Witcher 3 is getting older. It's 10, so there's no
Yeah, it
jokes
is.
yet like it's old enough to drive or old enough to drink, but we're gonna get there. Next up, in terms of new game releases, we have F1 2025. For those of you guys that like things that go very, very fast. Also,
That
last
movie
week I
coming out.
mentioned smaller games like Deliver at All Costs releasing, but I forgot to mention Blades of Fire. This is kind of like a third-person action hack and slash Metroidvania that kind of has like a Xbox 360 PS3 vibe.
Yeah,
to
it was kind of
Also,
fun.
if we're
I'd
talking
say
like kinda old
PS2,
school
man. The
throwbacks,
story
if
was
you're looking
straight
for
out of a
more
PS2 game.
Morrowind or Oblivion or even kind of Skyrim, but you're not into Bethesda anymore, check out Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. I did a before you buy for this because the game was like blowing up on Steam and in our comments and stuff like that. I only got to play so much of it, like just first impressions.
That's what reminded me of like a Skyrim. If, like someone who fell in love with Skyrim and then they started like 10 years ago. This is what they came up with.
Design and
It's
just
like a
the
King Arthur
atmosphere,
kind
that
of world,
grim dark vibe to it really hits. And
but
so
really
many people are
detailed.
digging
It's
it. So if
crazy.
that's
It's
up your
basically,
alley,
I'd say better.
that before you buy that we did is linked in the description.
Like someone made a
down below,
Bethesda
as
game, but
well
better
as the
than
before you buy
Bethesda.
for Elden Ring Night Rain. Elden Ring Night Rain is dropping today, if you're watching on Friday. And reviews are a little mixed.
Joe's
Eric,
playing
one of
that.
our writers, and Falcon did the before you buy. And they came away a little mixed on it. Like, yes, good for Souls fans, but not every type of Souls fans. You really got to have two other people with you that are on the ball because, you know, communication and just like duo and single support is not good for this one. Like, get a good trio and go in. Me personally, as much as I liked Elden Ring, I wasn't really totally interested in this type of thing. But if you are interested, the before you buy does break everything down. And if anything, I like seeing From Software do this like official multiplayer title, even though it's missing a lot of multiplayer features that people want, even like crossplay and stuff like that. At least they're doing a full multiplayer thing, so hopefully they're learning, and that means that their next full From Software game has better multiplayer support and integration than their games have had.
Yeah, it's just
In terms
another
of new
game
game
where a
announcements,
studio's
like I
like,
said,
hey,
it's
we
like the
did
calm
something
before
we
the
don't
storm
understand
with
and we have
Nintendo
to
Switch
learn
2
like
and Summer
everybody
Game
else.
Fest and State of Unreal all going down next week.
It would take
But
notes
we do
before they
have
did a
couple of small
project.
things like this VR Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. This was teased, but this is TMNT Empire City. Not really a ton of details out about this yet. The development studio, I don't
Love
know
the
too
art
much
style,
about them.
though.
I always like big new VR games getting announced, so I'll take it. Also, check out this trailer for Davy X Jones. this is like a big, crazy, over-the-top first-person shooter.
Yeah, dude, I saw
that
the
is
trailer
type-
for this. Looks really
You're
cool.
playing as Davy Jones, but like his head is off, like it's like a skull, and you're running around shooting pirates and exploding shit.
Well, they're two
It seems
separate
like it's got
people,
a good
Davy
sense of
and
humor,
Jones.
a good
It's like a
feeling
cool.
to it.
I like the
So,
concept.
yeah. But also another thing I wanted to highlight this week: Apple is trying again with gaming. I say trying again because they've consistently been trying to do stuff in the gaming world, be it mobile with their whole Apple Arcade thing and the Apple subscription, to PC or rather desktop Mac gaming, trying to do more of that. You know, they have a lot more games supported than they ever have in the past, but it's still just not there. It's not really drawing people in. But now news is hitting that at Apple's next big conference thing, WWDC, next week, according to this report, it is suggesting that Apple has plans to reveal a full gaming platform, like a new gaming app that's going to be on all of its devices, presumably like your iPhone and Macs and
Ooh,
MacBooks
that one was a
and
good
stuff
batch.
like that. Apparently, this is coming later this year. And
Summer in
it's going to be
general
kind of
is
like
going to start
catch-all
heating up.
launcher for
We have
all
the
types of
Xbox
games.
showcase
I
next
would presume
week.
it will be a lot of like mobile app type.
A lot of
games,
news.
but
Just going to be a lot of
also
fast
how Apple has
news
been
real
leaning
quick.
into like AAA games and like regular old games and stuff like that. Does this mean anything? I have no idea. It's again, the only reason why I bring it up is because it's a power player. It's a
Stay
heavy hitter.
tuned.
It's somebody like Apple, once again trying to get a bigger piece of the video game pie. Everybody talks shit about it, but everybody wants that video game money. And Apple has been gunning, like I said, pretty consistently, even if like I just felt like it was still kind of half-assed. But I'm curious to see if this is actually like a big attempt or just more marketing fluff.
Oh,
I don't
instead
know.
of just
Again, it's
dropping
significant
everything
because
like
they're
crazy.
Big, they have so much money, but also their user base, Max obviously, but the
So
bigger
I could just
thing is
click
that,
drop
you know, everybody
instead
I
of
mean, I
going
don't,
into
but,
the
like,
menu.
everybody
Click
has an
drop.
iPhone,
Okay.
so God, I just sounded like such an
Well, I'm probably
Android
gonna get off
salesman the way I
soon
said
because I have to
that.
go
You
eat
know what I mean,
something.
though. So if it's anything significant,
So
it's
maybe I'll
if they
Google
announce
it
and it's actually
and I'll
worth
just
talking
do it
about
myself. Like I'll
we'll
look
talk
it
about
up
it on the Friday show.
and
But
actually
for
do
now,
it
we just-
properly.
I guess we gotta wait and see. But that's everything this week to get you caught up. Like I said, last week was a lot busier.
But yeah, I
Calm
don't know if you
before the
guys can
storm, but
hear
let
it.
me know in the comments what you think
Stomach keeps
about
rumbling.
the news
I gotta eat
stories,
something.
right? Of course, all the Tiny Build Connect announcements. Ferocious, is that up your alley? As like maybe you're a Jurassic Park enjoyer, but also, of course, let me know what you think about EA canceling more games.
I need to
the
get a
Black
new
Panther
computer
thing,
soon.
you know,
this
and
one's
the fact that
just.
they're still not going to make
I'm
a
at a
Battlefront
point where
3
this
anytime
computer
soon,
either
despite
needs
that
new
game's popularity.
parts
Let's
or
talk
I need
about
to
all the
just
stuff EA is doing. Let's talk
upgrade
about
and buy a
any
whole
gaming
new
news
set.
down in the comments.
But when I do that, I'm
We'll be
hoping
down
I'm
in the
gonna play
comments as
more
much as
computer
possible,
games
but
too,
of course,
because
if
I'm
you
gonna
want to
get
yell
one
at me
that's actually
directly, you can find
functioning.
me on social media. Just search
Yeah,
Jake
much better on the
Baldino
wrist.
or search on YouTube Jake Baldino.
But even
or the
just
podcast I
annoyance
do with
too,
my friends.
convenience.
Podcast
That
is
sounds really
called
nice.
Friends Per Second. I gotta get back to work. A lot
Even
of
if I was
games to
going
play
for
and things
swordfish
to do,
too, to
but,
get rid of all the
I ask
tuna.
now is like, first of all, thank you for watching, but have a great weekend. Be safe. I'm Jake Baldino. Pizza's on me.
Pizza's on him. My Pizza Hut doesn't accept Jake dollars. Are you playing anything now, Black Jam? Anything currently?
Page because you can just see like if you're squatting by a
What's your
Xbox
current
game,
passion?
you can just
Goes
kind of
playing
see a
Night
list
Rain.
of all the conditions and all the different offers right in front of
I've
you.
been
so
into this and I'm trying to
making
find a new
quick
game
progress,
too.
quick work of this.
Playing Rivals,
down
but
here. All
you
right,
know
folks,
that only
so, and even 400
entertains
snackers
so
on
much.
that. Thank you so much.
There's
Puts
new
us at,
Adamfall
I think-
DLC on.
I think
the
just over
3rd, though.
2K
That
for the
surprised me.
day, and it's not even lunchtime yet. Speaking of lunch, I am getting kind of hungry. We may have to snag some of
Yeah,
this.
I think that's a sign.
inevit-
Hell, I'm hungry too, man. Carvana gives up 79 billion used car
journey.
disaster.
The business exploded with a surging share price and was one of the youngest companies in the
In Sri Lanka for showing Buddha snorting cocaine.
Buddha, don't do coke in front of kids.
Or that time they exposed the ridiculousness of Scientology. If, you know, that could even be
Getty
considered
gods.
a religion. It's not, it's a cult. There is another religion that stands out in the show's history as their clear favorite. And that religion is, of course, Mormonism.
You picked the wrong religion as well.
Well, who was right? Who gets into heaven?
I'm afraid it was the
Yeah, that
Mormons.
sucks. I'm sorry to
Today,
hear
We
that.
will be exploring South Park's history with Mormonism.
Well, I had a thought
as
when I
well
was
as
saying
their
it too. I was
famous
like, he probably wants to play
2003
RuneScape, but now
episode
hearing
all
that,
about
you'd have to
Mormons.
restart.
How
That
did
would
the
just
Church
dash
of Latter-day
the idea
Saints
from
react
me
to
as
this
well.
episode? How accurate is their portrayal of Joseph Smith?
That's why I was
And
playing
why the heck
R3
are they so
originally a couple
obsessed with
streams ago.
Mormons, even dating back to pre-South Park days.
Then someone told me that that wasn't old school, and I didn't know that. Like, I thought I was still playing old school. I thought they just upgraded it a little bit with graphics and everything. And it sparked my memory that I did have this account. Me and Joe actually tried to play this RuneScape like 2 years ago almost. This is how far we got, about like 56. I think he's about the same. So I guess I'm just going to start working on this again. When I get that itch, you know? Even these to get rid of the burns. Yeah, I'm definitely dropping. Get out of here, burnt lobbies. All the burnt lob. And with multiverses gone now, it's like, damn. I had nothing to sign into for the past like 2 days. Day now. How sad. Yeah, cook it. Cook.
Well, I have the answers. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to check if you're subscribed. I had to...
No, you. I found some creepy videos. Watch them. Nah, I guess I'll save them for a night stream. I was spooking myself out with some weird like horror videos the other night. Yeah. The failure and death of multiverses.
How do I explain to a normal person that the EU International Property Office has a very interesting trademark filed by Warner Brothers, and that Multiverses being shut down as quickly as it was may have actually been a blessing in disguise? I get this isn't the kind of thing I usually cover on this channel, but hey, look, Warner Brothers! The 30th of May, 2025. As of this date, Warner Bros. Entry in the platform fighter genre Multiverses has officially shut down after years of controversy and a dwindling player base. I don't think I need to introduce Multiverses, but to re-emphasize why this game was such a big deal, the platform fighter genre has never had much competition. The only mainstream game here is Smash Bros. For very obvious reasons, and the second most popular game is Brawlhalla. And as fun as Brawlhalla is, its problems make me want to scream into the void.
Yeah, Brawlhalla is just because of consistency. It's been around.
A non-indie, professionally produced platform fighter called Multiverses burst onto the scene with an eye-catching art style, tons of beloved Warner Bros. Characters like Looney Tunes, DC, to iconic Cartoon Network All-Stars, and had gameplay that was fast and fun. It was no question the game was going to be a hit, and it was. So what happened? Multiverses is
so
one of
what
the most
happened?
high-profile failures in recent memory, going from an incredibly popular and widely beloved game during its beta that was backed with tons of free publicity from YouTubers and streamers alike, only to quickly fall into the palms of corporate greed amidst the large company merger and change of leadership, the developers being bought out, and updates to the game becoming more and more disappointing as the game's quality tanked. Now, I wasn't exactly a devout fan of Multiverses. I only played the game for around 16 hours during the beta and only played it a handful of times at a friend's house sometime after it officially launched. But I do have some pretty fond memories of the beta, and I feel like I'm qualified enough to talk about how badly the official release fumbled the bag in comparison. There was a lot riding on this game, and seeing it crash and burn, while justified, was definitely a little depressing. So here's the story of how Multiverses went from a leading competitor in its genre to an utter laughingstock that may or may not have been sabotaged by the behind-the-scenes nonsense happening at Warner Bros. At the time. Now, to be clear, this won't be a comprehensive breakdown of the game's entire development history, the people behind it, or whatever. Today we're just focusing on the game's fall from grace, as really that's all that 90% of you watching this video care about, and that's all I care about as well. Also, I didn't record my own gameplay for this video because the game is essentially f***ing dead and most matches are filled with bots anyway, so please spare me for using other people's gameplay. They will all be linked in the description. So anyway, Multiverses caught a lot of people's attention for a good number of reasons. Obviously, the game's
that's
production
just his
values
excuse
help
for
it
being
stick
lazy
out
because
since
they
the
really
majority
weren't
of
that
platform
bad.
fighters outside of Smash Bros tend to either be indie ventures or just have far lower budgets than expected for a game of its scope. And the large variety of Warner Bros. IP featured in the game and the characters that were picked were particularly big factor towards its success. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, I
for
did see a
completely
trailer for
original
that the
platform
other day. I
fighter
was
to become
curious about
hugely
that.
popular these days. Obviously, Brawlhalla is an exception if you avoid the insane amount of collabs they've done.
There's another
Seriously,
weird
you can
plat
play as
fighter
The Rock
coming
in
out
this
with,
game,
like,
but a lot of the appeal of platform fighters comes from the crossover
Octodad
side
and
of it.
stuff.
Seeing your favorite characters from different franchises cross over and beat the absolute shit out of each other is inherently cool and fun, and it helps sell people on the game who would otherwise be completely uninterested. It's the sole reason why Smash Bros is as big as it is, and if Kiryu isn't added in the next one, then I'll make sure the next Nintendo Direct opens with Sakurai like this. But obviously aesthetics and characters alone aren't enough to keep people coming back for more, so how was the actual gameplay of Multiverses? Well, it was fun. Obviously,
Yeah,
Smash
I
Bros.
see
the
what you mean
same,
by
but
the
the game
wrist.
was competently designed and had a brisk pace to it. Each character had their own unique and cool movesets, from my goat Bugs Bunny smacking anvils across the screen and riding rockets, he was easily my favorite, to Superman slowly flying towards people and stringing them out of the arena. Okay, he was a little boring and bullshit, but each character felt very distinct and fun to control. Throw in some very satisfying sound design and some impactful hit stop on powerful attacks, and you had some very addictive gameplay on your hands. Again, it wasn't perfect. Some characters like the Iron Giant were just so fundamentally unfun to fight that making any sort of changes to them could lead to an utter balance catastrophe. This is foreshadowing the fact they had to straight up remove him from the fucking game at one point. But for a beta, the game was incredibly promising, and it kept me hooked for a good while. Yeah, I didn't spend much time on the game overall, but those 15 hours were relatively close together for a reason. The game was just fun. But you know, there was some absolute fuckery afoot here in the beta, and there were some pretty telltale signs that this game wasn't being managed in the best way. For one thing, microtransactions. Microtransactions. In a beta. Sure, they weren't the most egregious microtransactions ever implemented, but let this be a sign of things to come. Throughout the beta, there was
Alright,
also a
let's
bit
look
of
something up.
confusion over the characters they chose to add to the game, as it felt like a lot of character slots were just being wasted. Now, I'm not going to act like adding LeBron James wasn't objectively hilarious, but when it came to the official first few seasons of the beta, there were some very confusing decisions being made, from adding 2 Gremlins characters a month apart from each other, releasing Morty before Rick for some
That's a
baffling
terrible
reason,
excuse,
adding
though.
Black
You give
Adam for
LeBron
no
a
other reason
pass
than promoting the
because he
movie
was
at the time, which
hilarious?
just
It was the
doesn't make
first
any sense.
drop.
No
It
one
should have been
playing
like a
Multiverse is
fan
gonna be watching
favorite.
Black Adam.
The hierarchy of power.
Yeah, the choices were ridiculous.
Well, no shit. And then in the second season of the beta, they added Marvin the Martian, and that was it. He was the only new character they added to the game before they shut down the beta. Marvin the Martian, out of every other Looney Tunes character they could have picked. They also had an all-new original character called Rain Dog. Everyone's made fun of Rain Dog already, but seriously, who invited this guy?
He's
Definitely
homeless,
my
leave him
least
alone.
favorite industry plant. At least Jeff the Land Shark is fun to play. But whatever, right? The game was fun. It was pretty damn popular at the time. I think it had something like over 100,000 concurrent players on Steam. It was a big deal. But obviously, even though the game now had a core player base, a game like this isn't going to stay that insanely popular for too long unless more content comes soon. And at the time, you could see that day by day, more people were slowly losing interest. It still had a healthy player count, but here's the thing. The game could have possibly circumvented the whole thing and kept its momentum if it wasn't for the Season 1 delay. The first season of the Multiverses beta was supposed to release on August 9th, 2022, which was set in stone for a good while. But then for some completely unknown reason, it got delayed and released a full week later. Believe it or not, I think if the season had just been released when it was intended to, they likely would have kept their momentum going. The day Season 1 dropped was the day the game's player count started to decline much faster than before. To this day, there's been no given reason for why they found it necessary to push the season back, with many people theorizing that Warner Bros. Was responsible, since it was during that month of 2022 that David Zaslav started going crazy with the company's tax write-offs and generally meddling with all things Warner Bros. Related.
There's a
after
lot
the
of
merger
factors.
discovery.
It also
The devs
was
said this
just
wasn't the
terribly
case, but
supported
they never
game.
actually said what the real reason was. So yes, I genuinely do still believe that Zaslav going mental during that 1 week in August had some effect on Multiverses.
Yeah, it's
whatever
several-
it was.
several
Again, it's probably
different
silly to blame the
factors,
game's
not
player
just
count declining
one.
on an update being delayed by like 6 days, but the signs that the fad was starting to die down were clearly there. The season getting delayed was not going to help that. But anyway, despite
Which is
its
what they did
problems and many
twice.
foreboding signs of mismanagement and greed, the Multiverses beta was a pretty huge success and people were loving the game. Despite the player count dwindling and the fad dying, it had a core player base who would no doubt support the game's promising looking future. What the fuck? So yeah,
What the
in
fuck?
early 2023 it was announced that the Multiverses beta was being shut down and that the game was planning to have an official relaunch the next year. And this was arguably the biggest mistake they made with Multiverses because, like, genuinely, what are you doing? Yes, Multiverse's beta was a beta, but that doesn't mean the game has to be entirely shut down just for you to work on the relaunch. Like, yeah, they were definitely
Yeah, that
working on a
never
ton of
made
new
any
content that
sense.
we'll get into shortly, but there's no reason it couldn't have just come in the form of a normal update that transitions the game out of beta.
And
This was a
possibly still
massive
made money
kneecap
while
to
you
the
were
game's
working on the new
popularity and
build.
momentum,
Like,
and was also just
why?
a bad look in general. With how misinformation easily spreads online nowadays, a lot of people genuinely believe that Multiverse is shut down for good after only a few months of activity. That's how sudden and uncalled for this was. And let's not forget, the beta was monetized. It had plenty of microtransactions for cosmetics and even a battle
still was
pass. People
terribly
spent money on this
monetized.
game with no
Look,
idea
there's
all the
proof that
stuff
we
they
had
bought was about
Pajama
to
Finn.
vanish into the digital void for a whole year.
Jerks.
Taking people's money and then shutting down the game and their ability to use the stuff they bought is textbook AAA predatory behavior. It was absurdly scummy. It doesn't matter what the intent was or how much
Joe and I
content
were
they
always
making
salty
for the
because we
official
knew we
launch.
had
This was not the
Pajama
right
Finn,
call,
and
it
then
was
when
a
the rebuild
serious hit to
happened,
the game's
nope,
reputation.
just magically
And
didn't have him
unfortunately,
anymore.
This signaled the beginning
One of the
an
few
end.
skins
So
that were
let's
easy
talk
to
about the
grind out.
relaunch. The relaunch of Multiverses was not nearly as anticipated as the beta due to the bad press the game had received for rug pulling access to it from paying customers out of nowhere. And the lead up to the relaunch was also not received too well thanks to the marketing. Well, on the surface, the marketing seemed fairly normal, you know, just posting more
They
clips
wasted
and
too
trailers
much
to
money
drum up
on the
hype for the
scope.
relaunch. Many
If
people
you
were
look
paying
at
close
season
attention
1
to
and the
gameplay they
rollout
were
of the
showing off,
re-release,
and
the
oh my
scope
God,
is
the
so
game
much
looks
larger,
like shit.
and then it
Jesus
gets
Christ, the
dialed
game speed. What did
like
they do?
it gets
Part
dialed
of
back
what
like
made
crazy.
Multiverses so fun was how fast it was. It had a great pace to it, and one of the
Season
most
2, that's why there's like 8 rifts in season 1. I think that was the plan.
The new
And they all
gameplay
had
being
little
shown
like
off was significantly
CGI
slowed
vignettes.
down. Everything looked so much more floaty and awkward. The animations
Oh, I didn't grab
looked
more
off, and
lobbies,
the hit
damn.
stop that happened when hitting an enemy really hard was now adding to the horrible game feel.
And
now
then
that
every
everything was
season
slower.
after
Many
that was
praised
just
the
like,
trailers
okay,
for
you
just
get
slowing
4
down the
rifts,
gameplay in
and
order
then it
to
was
show
3 rifts
everything
and a
off.
rogue
The game
rift,
speed was gonna be
and then we're
relatively
closing.
unchanged. But honestly, this was some very desperate but understandable cope. The
A
game
lot of
finally
desperate
relaunched
moves.
on May 28th, 2024, and while for the first few days it managed to get back similar numbers to the beta launch, people were very divided on the quality of the game. The concerns over the footage were very well founded. The game was so much slower now and felt so much worse to play than it looked. It was still a playable
Low
game
and
with its own
netcode
unique quirks,
hitboxes?
but it
Ew.
was so much more boring and unsatisfying. Strings and combos were way too easy to pull off now due to the floaty physics, making characters like the Iron Giant an absolute nightmare to play against. Again, they had to remove him from the game for a while. The
Had to
feedback
take
of
him
getting
out.
hit by something, experiencing sluggish hit stop, and then slowly falling through the air was awful. And you combine that with how big the character models were compared to the microscopic sizes of some stages, and it just God, it sucked! From a gameplay perspective, there was still some
Yeah,
fun
the
to be
camera and
had,
the
the game
maps,
still had
terrible.
its own identity
Terrible
with the perk
ceilings.
system and focusing on 2v2s rather than free-for-alls. But compared to how it was previously, it was pretty damn rough. And while future updates would seek to fix the balancing issues, fixing Iron Giant for one, there were so many more confusing gameplay changes being made. The
Is
most
he fixed,
evident of
though?
which being the introduction of shields,
Is he?
an addition that conflicted heavily with the game's focus on dodging and parrying attacks. They were slow and weren't fun to use, and they sucked to play against. But while the gameplay side of things was still at the very least acceptable, the same could not be said about the game's progression system and rampant microtransactions. As dumb as it was to put microtransactions in the game's beta, they weren't the worst thing ever. The finished version of Multiverses, however, has some of the most despicable paywall progression I've ever seen. Sure, a free-to-play game has to make money somehow, but paywalling other unlockable characters in a platform fighter is all kinds of messed up. Sure, they weren't entirely
$20 for
paywalled, you
like
could
an emote,
theoretically unlock
if it
every
was
character in the
ranked
game
high
for free
enough,
by
like
grinding
that's
in-game
ridiculous.
currency. But
Their
as you can
pricing
probably
was
imagine, that takes
stupid.
forever, and the reason it takes forever is so you get sick of the grind and hand over your wallet. It's the oldest trick in the microtransaction book and effectively made Multiverses a pay-to-win game. They did add this new thing called Fighter's Road to help make unlocking all the characters for free more straightforward and less grindy. And while it did somewhat accomplish that, if you wanted a specific character over all the others, then, well, tough shit, unfortunately. You have to unlock a bunch of random characters you don't want to play before you finally get the one you wanted the whole time.
Yeah, you gotta pony
making
up the
grind
dough.
feel even worse, especially since any new characters that were added to the game were poorly tacked onto the very end of the road itself, so they by far took the longest to obtain. The effort put in to try and earn every single character without spending money was just not worth it. The progression system and unlocking characters was awful across the board, and in my eyes made Multiverses one of the greediest games I have ever seen. And this is probably worth noting, but when Multiverses began development, it was back when Warner Bros. Wasn't merged with Discovery. The game was released shortly after the merger completed and when David Zaslav became CEO. And while the monetization back back then wasn't great, it's clear that the relaunch had Warner Bros.' filthy little handprints all over it. David Zaslav is a money-grubbing jackass who will do anything to pull his company out of debt, even if that means crippling the progression and player retention of an already profitable game just for a short-term boost in revenue. I do not believe for a second that the way this game was monetized was a conscious decision made by the devs. It's a clear result of how much Warner Bros. Has changed and evolved since the game's beta launched in 2022. The higher-ups didn't care about
I just
creating
wish
a
I could see
sustainable
that other
live service
reality
experience and just wanted to squeeze as much money
where
out
things
as
were
possible
actually
until players got fed up and
microtransactions,
left. And
and I would like to
disappointments
see how
just
much
kept
money it would have
rolling
made.
in. The single-player campaign was lazy
I
and
probably would have bought
uninteresting. The
way
game's
more
ranked mode was some
if they were
mysteriously
more
absent
manageable.
despite being in the fucking beta and took until the second season to be added. And the questionable character choices were really starting to take the piss at this point. While season 1 had a strong start with the addition of the Joker, Jason Voorhees, and Agent Smith, they wasted a slot on the Banana Guard from Adventure Time as like a joke character, and if the game hadn't been shut down for a year and had a better roster, this would have likely been seen as the funny meme pick that it was, but people were just annoyed this was wasting character slots for the joke pick. Season
Oh,
2
but it was
added
made in a
Samurai
weekend,
Jack
so
and
it's okay.
Beetlejuice, no
It was
complaints
low
there.
effort.
Season 3 added the Powerpuff Girls, that's fine, but then there's Nubia. Now, I consider myself to be relatively well versed when it comes to comics, but even I had to ask, who the fuck is Nubia? Okay, so she's a Wonder Woman character. That's fine, though she seems to be fairly obscure compared to any other DC character they could have put in the game before her. Again, she's not a bad pick, but the priorities regarding which characters make it into the game is all over the place. They had Morty before Rick, they had Harley before Joker, they released 2 Gremlin characters separately, Black Adam is here for some reason, Marvin over any other Looney Tunes
I actually like
character,
Black
and who
Adam's
the
kit.
fuck
He can
is
stay.
Dog. By the way,
Oh,
the
shit.
Powerpuff Girls launched with an incredibly broken Infinite that could instantly knock any opponent off the stage.
I went autopilot for a minute. I thought I was going to chop wood.
So much damage to the perception of the game's balance, it's crazy. Then season 4 added Raven from Teen Titans. Again, feels weird that she gets in over other DC characters and even the other members of the Teen Titans, but okay. And then Marceline from Adventure Time gets in, which makes the inclusion of the Banana Guard even more of a up because they wasted the character slot on a joke character from Adventure Time, and now
Yeah, imagine we got
Time is some of the most
Marceline in
reps
season
the
1.
entire game. And then we have the 5th and final season, which caps off Multiverse's journey with Aquaman and Lola Bunny. Dear God, what a waste. It's not even that none of these characters would be accepted. The game just needed to prioritize some other characters to make their inclusions not feel weird and jarring. You can't just add Morty and then delay Rick for like 2 months while adding another different character before him. That's not normal. But with all of that said regarding the relaunch, things were not going too well. The update that added shields was kind of the last straw for a good percentage of the player base. Balance updates were controversial, the new content was questionable, and the monetization was just way too predatory even by the standards of most free-to-play games out there. It's not surprising that shortly after the boost in player numbers from the relaunch, things quickly nosedived. Only a couple of months after launch, the concurrent player counts dropped from around 100,000 to barely scraping 5,000. By the end of 2024, the game was struggling to retain even 1,000 players. Obviously, this doesn't tell the full story as the game is still available on consoles, but the drop is still staggering. And because of this, the game was cooked. It was announced at the start of 2025 the game would be shutting down for good, and as of the upload date of this video, you could no longer download Multiverses. The game is dead and buried. Frustratingly, after this announcement, the game teased a new update showing increased game speed that somewhat resembled how the beta played. And I think this is the perfect representation of just how poorly this game was handled. The game is being shut down, and now you choose to fix one of the biggest issues with the relaunch? The
Literally.
TL of Multiverses is very depressing. The game had so much
The game
promise
should
and
be
the beta
studied.
was so much fun despite its flaws, but the devs just fumbled the bag when it came to the gameplay, and Warner Bros. Had its way with how the game was monetized, all but ensuring its fate and that the game would soon be dead and forgotten alongside the rest of the failures of the platform fighter genre. Maybe one day there will be a new platform fighter that can stand on its own 2 feet among Smash Bros. And Brawlhalla and not die after a year of service, but it doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. Rest in peace, Multiverses. Wait, I just remembered this was the only piece of official media ever to feature Rain Dog as a character. Holy shit, Rain Dog is fucking dead.
Alright, and on that note, that's so good, man. Alright, on that note though, I do want to head over to this Framemakers. First, I need to see if it's coming over to PlayStation, so if I can play it easily or not. But it's like another plat fighter made with indie game characters, which, again, with its look, art style, and character choice, could be the makings of greatness. So I do want to take a look at this. I just see Octodad. That's the only one I really recognize right off the bat. Oh. When? When? Oh my god, dude. This summer is gonna be nuts. I gotta get myself a Sephiroth card. Hold on, it's a launch trailer. Maybe you guys can recognize some of the characters too. I think they're revealing some in the trailer. Damn, it's only gonna be available on PC. Which isn't impossible, but
Begin.
it's like a rain dog. It's like a shark dog thing. That's the only one I recognize is Octodad. And that might have been a Among Us thing he was fighting? I don't know. I love the pixel art style though. That's cool. And the sound design's cool. Like old fashioned. See that? That might be Among Us. Maybe. I don't know who they are. That's why we got this one. Shout out to Joby Wan. Gonna explain all the characters in Framemakers.
Framemakers is a new platform fighter that focuses on indie games, with 20 assists and 4 characters so far. It has iconic characters like Octodad and Among Us.
Okay,
as well
it is
as
Among
other
Us.
characters you may not be familiar with. So here's where every character in Framemakers is from.
Octodad.
In Octodad, take control of each limb as you attempt to do everyday tasks without letting your family find out you're an octopus.
Commander Video.
Commander Video first appeared in Bit Trip Beat, a rhythm arcade game where you deflect squares to the music, but is more
Oh no,
known as the
Bit Trip Beat.
protagonist of
Okay,
Bit
it's not
Trip
Among
Runner,
Us.
an
I guess I was
auto
supposed to
runner
think
where you
that.
jump, slide, and kick your way to the finish line.
Rotaro.
In Downwell, you strap on your gun boots and
Downwell?
descend down a well.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
Shooting through enemies as you jump to rack up combos and collect jewels.
Arcane.
Rivals of Ether is a 2D platform fighter with an extensive custom workshop, much like Framemakers. The characters
Interesting.
have elemental power, so it's practically Avatar.
I've never
Aang
heard
is
of
the
it.
Phoenix Knight, tasked with destroying the legendary dragon in this upcoming puzzle platformer renamed. In Ape Out, you're a gorilla trying to escape captivity as you bash through enemy humans to a frantic drumming soundtrack.
That's really cool.
Wander Song is a cute little puzzle platformer where you use music to interact with the environment and solve puzzles.
Birthday.
King of the Hat is a hilarious party game where
Birthday.
you fight with your hat. But be careful, if someone jumps on your hat, you die.
Captain Viridian.
Reverse gravity to platform your way through the obstacles in VVVVVV to find your lost crew.
You got me.
I had to make sure I hit every V.
Crewmate.
Oh, there is. Okay, Among Us, isn't it?
I mean, if you don't know Among Us at this point, that's kind of sus. Sorry for that
crewmate.
cringy joke. Please subscribe.
Diogenes.
Getting Over It is a game that you should only play if you hate yourself or you're a psychopath looking for a challenge. Use your mouse to control your hammer
That's
as
funny.
you work your way over obstacles.
See, like,
where
you can
one
get some
slip could
funny
mean
ass
falling
characters
to the
like
bottom
this.
and losing all your progress. Good game though.
Fancy Pants Man.
The Fancy Pants Adventures World 1 was released in 2006. It's a simple platformer where you collect squiggles and jump on spiders. This was the perfect game to play on the school computers when the teacher wasn't
R.I.P.
looking.
Flash, yeah. R.I.P. Flash.
Jump and shoot your way to save the girl at the end of this classic Western platformer.
Joseph.
Machinarium is a point-and-click puzzle game where you play as Joseph, the little robot trying to save his girlfriend.
The Kid.
In I Want to Be the Guy, the kid is on a mission to be the guy. It's that simple. This game is loaded with references and parodies that I just don't want to spoil for you guys if you haven't played it.
Crag.
Like Arcane, Craig is also from Rivals
Craig?
of Ether, but he's the
Oh, okay.
Earthbender guy. It kind of looks like a beetle.
That game looks so cool. I would have played
Crosscode
that
is
if I knew about it as a
fast-paced
kid.
action RPG with puzzle elements and beautiful pixel art graphics.
Nicandrios!
Apotheon is a platformer.
Apotheon,
where you
I have
flash
played
your
this.
way
Okay,
through
I thought
ancient
so.
Greece to kill the gods. Yeah, screw Zeus.
Great game.
One Shot is
Definitely
one of those games that has you
check out
doing stuff
Apotheon.
outside of the game. I don't really know how to talk about this one without spoilers, so like if you like games like Undertale, you probably like this one.
That's what it looks like.
Play as Peppino as you rampage through Pizza Tower, killing
Oh my
enemies as
God.
you try to destroy the tower. This game is heavily inspired by the Wario Land series, and the humor and the wackiness looks to just really shine through. Chicory: A Colorful Tale is a top-down adventure game where you use your paintbrush to color your way through solving puzzles.
Rhythm Doctor!
Rhythm Doctor is a unique rhythm game where you play as a doctor and use your defibrillator
deadass
to
just
the
play
beat
as a
to
finger?
save your patients.
The Silent!
Slay the Spire is a fusion between strategy card games
Slay
and
the
roguelike
Spire,
gameplay.
wow.
Tankman!
So, Tankman's not really from a game, but the mascot for Newgrounds.
Newgrounds.
A website with thousands of great Flash games that people have made.
Dude,
There's also this
throwback.
great cartoon.
There, that's your birthday present. You can thank me later.
Alright guys, there's the game that every character in Framemakers is from. If you can't get enough Framemakers, check out this video right here, and I'll see you guys next time.
That's too cool, man. And then that first trailer was them revealing and all that. Good. Too cool. I can't wait for that. Definitely got to try it out and see what kooky characters they add to it. Just basically, I don't know, any kind of meme or indie game characters in the roster. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
Than the beta itself. Additionally, the new PvE Rift
Alright,
mode
but,
was causing some controversy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go eat food because, again, my stomach. Just bleh. Empty wallet summer. Amen. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, watching. Happy